Marcia?
Yeah.
We're good.
First of all, thanks to Mike Keys for breaking it down and giving us the pages. My question is, so is this pages in the big book or in the little book?
They're both. You'll see in there, there's descriptions. It says pages from the recommended budget, but also the pages from the categorical.
Wow, Mike.
Should be in your mailbox.
Okay, and this is the
Does
category.
that answer that, Commissioner Gershenson?
I believe so. So this one.
Oh.
Because I don't see it, that's my which would say this.
Was this an email to us?
This has been emailed. It's also in your mailboxes, and then it's in the iPads as well.
Okay.
Nice going, Mike.
Hey, anything for you, Commissioner.
Good call out.
All right.
Just in the.
So we're going to go ahead and get started with our first budget hearing of the 2026 to 2028 budget season. I'm calling the meeting to order at 1:15. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Powell? Here. Commissioner Smith-Charles?
She is here.
Commissioner Erickson Galt?
She's right there.
Commissioner Spiz is absent with notice. Commissioner Long? Here. Commissioner Taylor?
Oh,
Here.
Commissioner Markham?
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gershenson is sitting in.
That's
Commissioner
correct.
Gershenson is ex officio.
Right. All right. We do have a quorum, but because these are hearings and not meetings at which any items will be voted on, it's not necessary for us to have a quorum, and there are a few committee members who, over the course of these events, over the next 2 weeks, are going to have to either not be here, like Commissioner Spiz, or leave early, and that is okay. I'll be here the whole time, so departments can still make their presentations, and of course, this is all recorded, so if people want to see what happens, they can follow us on our YouTube channel, right? Yeah, okay. All right, so with that, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. And with that, we will jump right into the budget presentations. First up is, makes a lot of sense, our management and budget department. So for the speakers, you're going to be facing the audience. You're going to be at the podium facing the audience. And we don't mind being behind you.
I have a habit of never walking down the stairs in front of anybody. Well, thank you. Brian Loeffler, CFO, presenting for management budget, but there's a management budget encompasses equalization, which is represented by Michael Lohmeyer. You have procurement with,
She's over there.
oh, there she is, okay. Alicia Williams, and then on the management budget side, you have everything from Cheryl, Johnson, Shannon Lee, Candace Giles, Brent Straub is our chief of budget, so it's all encompassing. But starting off is process change that we did from the previous year. So one of the first things that we had done from last year's budget is talk about we need to start earlier in this process because we wanted to have a little bit more back and forth between the departments, the courts, the commissions, and also the other elected offices to make sure that as the county exec was putting together the recommended budget that's before you, is that we wanted to make sure that we captured everything. As you are trying to do here is you have certain limits of time, but we wanted to make sure prior to coming to you, we expended a lot of that time towards people that are helping you appropriate the dollars from the taxpayers. So with that, we had a good schedule of events annual budget presentations, and then also feedback opportunities on recommendation for decisioning. So that what it means is that what we were trying to do is, as they presented their ideas or their asks to the county executive, some of the things we actually asked for additional clarification and asked them, how does this fit into something what you're going to see here down below is what is called performance management. There's a staff member called Henry Outlaw that's on our team, is that for all the offices underneath County Executive Coulter, they are supposed to have a performance management plan in place. And so at the end of each of these slide decks, you're going to see some of these teams are starting their process, where they are in their process of performance management, or they completed. But what's more importantly about that is that when they come to this budget process, a lot of them were citing their budget ask to their management plan. So that they essentially are doing something what we look at as well thought out of making sure that, yes, we are on our own individual missions under County Exec Coulter, and therefore we were able to see that feedback. So one of the things we had also worked with is the folks over in HR. They are always at the table, as with the procurement team, is if there's a question about staffing, where they're going. And one of the things that you probably saw was a vacant position analysis. So in this budget, between general fund, proprietary funds, we had actually eliminated some positions that had been vacant for more than 12 months. The whole point is, as you know, we budget for full employment. If the position's been open for more than 12 months, we ask them, where are you on that? And that a lot of these departments said, we can give up that position. That's no part of our strategic plan. And so therefore, that position has been eliminated. And you're going to see that in the categorical as those positions that have been eliminated. Some of them said, well, we're in the process, fine, we'll let you continue to move forward, but it has to be within your strategic plan. So really, it was a great dialogue with all of these departments, other elected officials, and then also, too, some of them may said, well, I need to add a position. So you're going to see people adding positions based on their strategic plans. Contract review and analysis is essentially working with the procurement department. One of the things as their initiatives and is really making sure that how do we streamline that process. So Alicia Williams and her team, as you're going to see in management budget, there's more positions, and we can certainly address that. Why we're asking for better contract management for the county. And then also, budget requests are like I said, are tied to that developed strategic plans. So the template that we have, and you're going to see for each of the individual presenters for the next 2 weeks, is this template that we've essentially made sure that you can understand, or the public can understand, as a comparison from department to department. And the thing that we're here is department revenues versus budget actuals. Well, one of the things, first thing that's going to jump out of this slide is like, why is, in this case, the blue bar and the second one higher than previous? And so it's all related to ARPA reimbursements, things that we're still working through of how we had ARPA dollars come back into management budget during fiscal year 2025. And that's actually part of FY 2025. That was reflected in our ACFR that was presented to the audit subcommittee. But you see going forward, you can see our revenues and budget for 2026 and even 2027, how you can see how our revenues and our expenses are flat. Then we start breaking these down into charges for services and the income by year. But the charges for service had a net decrease of 1.6 million, reflects a reduction in the equalization contracts from the city, villages, and townships. So if you recall, for the equalization side, 20 communities had canceled their contracts. So in FY 2027, we have made we have reduced our revenue associated with those contracts that have been terminated. Expenditures, budget for actuals. One of the things that I have to say, though, as we probably made the presentation for equalization is, as you know, we still budget for full employment as we're working through the VSIP. And so right now, approximately, there were 60 employees still within the Department of Equalization and Assessing. So right now, this 2027 budget assumes all of those positions are still there. It's the same message that we gave to you during the presentation through, I think it was Lago and also Finance. So this is essentially the departmental expenditures adopted on the budget. And you can see of the components of personnel, operating expenses, internal services, and transfers out, essentially, most of the expenditures that we have included for this next year is a 3% COLA increase. And you're going to see that across all the departments. Unless there's a contractual rate for those who are in the UAW, there's 3.75 and anything like that. So that's already built into these multi-year budgets. The next item is personnel. You can see here we have vacant filled positions. So in 2027, one of the things that we have here is in management budget, we have 1 full-time eligible FTE procurement analysis, and we can certainly talk about that more with Alicia Williams. 2 strategic sourcing agents. If you recall in our budget presentation, or at least the procurement, December 3rd of last year, is that Mr. Wagner at the time with Alicia Williams were talking about how they were redesigning their department. For example, a strategic sourcing agent is an agent who is really fine-tuned and saying, I'm going to be focusing on IT. We really can't just have a general buyer. We need somebody who has to have that talent. And the same thing with facilities. We have the facilities with all the capital improvement program we're going. We're making sure that that person is a strategic sourcing agent. Sheriff's Office, one of the biggest procurements, that person has to be knowledgeable of what the Sheriff's Office has. And I think that's the same thing we have under the budget analysts. We have budget analysts who are really focused within those departments, so they really get to know who their customer is. And we're reviewing these departments and elected officials and courts as our clients. In addition to that, there's 2 manager fiscal services, 1 fiscal services in the division. We are deleting, in this case, this is where we're deleting 6 equalization, appraiser 2, 4 equalization assessing folks, 3 equalization technicians, and a field supervisor, and 1 GIS CAD technical. These are the folks that have already left county employment. So those positions are open. So that's why we're already reducing them to reflect the personnel reduction. As you can see here, the amount of grants, this is really based on a question that we had received or a comment from last year. What's going on with grants inside our individual departments? So you can see this chart says, in this case, from the impact of federal grants on the budget, I think for non-federal funding is essentially 97%. Our federal grant funding is 3% with inside management budget. So for this performance management, this is something that's really effective for County Executive Coulter's departments. That Henry Outlaw and his team essentially is working with, in this case, equalization. So, I think one of the things that equalization is doing right now, you can see they're just starting this because they're in a transition period. So I know that Mr. Outlaw and his team is going to be working with Mr. Lohmeyer and his team for that. In the case of procurement, they are starting the integration. This is, again, what you're seeing is that these folks are going to be a little bit behind the other 2, and that's, again, with Alicia at this team and her whole team coming together. This is where Mr. Outlaw is going to say putting their 5-year goals under review. But then when you see fiscal services, you can see they have their 5-year plan in place, or five goals in place. So this is what you're going to see as an example of those in the beginning, those in the mid-process. In the case of fiscal services, this is essentially they're in plan adoption. And then here's, in this case, they've identified their key KPI, how they're going to collect it, their analysis. So this is where you're going to start seeing some outputs from the individual departments on their performance management. All right. I'll stop there. Because I also have some potential commissioner questions that were in civic clerk. So I want to make sure you address those. But before then, Commissioner Christensen, or sorry, Chair.
Okay. I will open it to the floor. Commissioner Gershenson.
Thank you. Number 6 goal, making sure that the stakeholders provide a framework. I want to know that that has happened or when that is going to happen, so that we don't have upset communities coming to us and saying, you know, we didn't know about it. Now, of course, it's their
Microphone, they need you to have it, be on the mic.
You know, I do believe that the communities should know when their contracts are expiring. But I do think after all these years, we've been asking to have some sort of regular acknowledgement to these communities that, just a reminder, this contract's coming up and we're gonna renegotiate it. So is that in place? Who's responsible for that? And when is that happening?
So in terms of stakeholders, in terms of the communities, and this is two sets of contracts. One is working with the sheriff's office in terms of that contract period, and then also inside of assessing. I've been working with the sheriff's office to say, when are we going to start that process? So we are actually going to be ready to present to like early second quarter of next year, because we're going to have to worry about contracts, so that essentially it's going to be sooner than later for them. It's going to be the same thing with the assessing contracts, that we'll give you that time frame of when are they going to find out. Same thing is we're going to have those contracts coming to you for approval. Lesson learned from the last process, we are going to have to kind of publish a schedule. So in terms of, I was working with Under Sheriff Willis and Gaia Pierre, in terms of how are we going to make sure that that happens, and that's something we can certainly share with the Board of Commissioners, both for the sheriff's contracts and then also in this case the assessing contracts. Okay.
Are those the only two situations like that where we're charging for services from the other communities? There's nothing else like that, just equalization? And I mean, I know we're doing the one that we had last month where we're charging them for credit card processing.
Right, that's through the IT, but then they came to you prior to that, was like what rate they were going to charge. That was that. I think on your next finance committee meeting, or maybe it's PHNS, is that the sheriff's office is going to be, what are we going to charge for the courts to have deputies inside the district? Well, all those rates have been been established by the board when we had talked 2 years ago for that. So we know what their rates are. What we are going to do, like for example, in the sheriff's office, you know, we have the detail of what does it cost for the salary, what's going to happen with their fringe and things like that. And folks, as you probably are aware, is that the deputies the sheriff's deputies contract is up for renegotiation. It's being negotiated now, starting October 1. So I'm assuming that that's going to have an impact on not the 2027 rates, going to impact the 2028 rates for that contract. So you'll be seeing what those rates are for the pay, and then we're going to have to incorporate that into the contract.
And I think Commissioner Gershenson's point is, when is the customer included in that conversation?
Yeah, and I think that for us, if it's going to be effective January 1 of 2028, is that first quarter, early second quarter is when they're going to need to know. As we heard that a lot of them are going for millages now, or their budget is going to has to be adopted in April or May. So we're going to have to be sooner than that, because each of the different fiscal years. So our goal is to be in the first quarter of 2027, so that they know what's going to happen for their contract in 2028.
That would be an improvement. That's great.
Yeah, that's our KPI. Lesson learned.
Okay.
Yeah,
Commissioner Powell?
He actually hit on it, because I wanted more so like, it's 3 months, 6 months prior to and before they budget. So he's addressed all that. So we should be in the clear, and we just trying to avoid the municipalities coming to us. Now, to the audit. Budget audit, budget audit. I have a question in regards to the budget audit. Basically, there are things that was stated in there that, I'm just gonna say what I say, but don't take it personal. I just wanna get it off. Meaning, there are things that was found in the audit that is alerting us to watch moving forward. So my question to you, Leffler, is what is the plan in keeping us notified of what needs to be paid attention to, and how frequently will we be updated so that we can watch that? And we are, as commissioners, aware that fiscal is in a transition, so it wasn't like, when we read some of the audits, we understand, but again, we wanna make sure this is not a continuation of issues with us moving forward. And, so, I just didn't, no one did anything wrong. I just wanna ask.
Sure. So,
Thank you.
yep, I appreciate that. So in the audit subcommittee that happened a couple months ago, there was you have your audit, which is our ACFR, and so there was a list of findings, and there was 3 repeat findings that we have. And working with the fiscal services team is just saying, okay, what's our plan to do the corrective action plan? We provided the corrective action plan. Some of them are internal, some of them is working with our external partners to get the information on a timely basis. One of the things that I asked for was a universal calendar of how we're going to make sure that the audit this next year is delivered by March 1. What do you need from the other departments? All that type of stuff is something that once this global calendar is ready to go, you're going to be able to see it. We can report out. The second one is the single audit and the findings that we had there. There was 5 on that. 2 are related to NHD, which we are definitely working with Khadijah and her team over there. I know Brent Straub and the whole fiscal services team is really working hard on say how we address. They've already addressing this, so that when we came to the audit subcommittee last time, is that we didn't want to say, oh, we'll be back to you in 30 days. We're already jump starting this and make sure that we do that. So in terms of a report back out, yeah, I think if you'd like to see something where we are mid-year, we can certainly do that. I would like to give you the calendar because I've asked for a global overlay of how are we going to have folks manage their workflow and make sure that we do things on a timely basis.
Okay.
So that's
Well, I
fair.
do know our chair of finance will talk to you in regards to updates to us. What that schedule look like, I don't know.
Sure.
She'll decide that for us, but I just know per the audit findings, we just want to kind of,
Yeah,
stay in compliance to make sure you all are in compliance, basically.
yeah, I think what this global calendar that I've asked for everybody inside of fiscal services is making sure is one in my mind is like, how do we make sure we manage the process? I'd like to reduce any overtime. I'd like to think that we are moving at a measured pace. What systems do we need to make sure we have in place so that they can do things on a timely basis? And that when we have the auditors in, they're ready to audit, and then they're out. And then that's why, if you look at it, the statute says the audit has to be done, filed by March 31st. I'm moving it up, essentially 1 whole month because I really would like the team to continue to use those 30 days for other things. We should have these systems in place, so that's what we are working on.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question for you is, because you have a lot of moving parts in your department, were there any, and you might have reflected it here, but I didn't review it. All commissioners know that I'm big on, if we don't supply the departments with the bodies and what we need, we can't have high expectations and you couldn't deliver because your department ain't got everybody you need. So is there any updates with us as far as your department, as far as any new positions or adding positions you need so that you are efficient in all of your transitions in your department that's going on?
Sure. I think you see inside of management budget, there's positions inside of procurement. Because I think one of the things that what's going to be a big key for Alicia Williams and her team is responsiveness to emails coming in, coming back, making sure that the department knows when their contracts that are over. I think the goal is to try to reduce exceptions to the rules, and so those are the things. She's also updating the policies and procedures, doing that, working with Corporation Counsel. Inside of equalization, after that comes to play through the Watson and Yates study, is that we're looking to see, okay, there's going to be kind of a separation under that study, who needs to be with equalization, then who needs to be inside of assessing, so that again, and then what tools. If you recall, in equalization, in the Watson and Yates, that there was about approximately a $2 million investment probably with BSNA going to the cloud. We just had a presentation internally last week or the week before to say, oh, we're going to probably maybe a little bit more than $2 million. The whole point is we have identified a need, and we're going to have to put that into the budget once we have a true action plan. When I say in the budget, right now, normally those type of budget items go into IT. We're actually going to put that type of thing as like for accountability. Where is it going to be an equalization? So you see the performance issue that you're talking about. Inside of fiscal services, a lot of the vacancies are a fintech, financial tech, or a supervisor senior or an accountant type level. One of the things I've asked for the team inside of fiscal services is that you update your position descriptions. Make sure that the type of person that we are hiring is meeting the needs of what we're going to be seeing. So this is where the collaboration with HR is making sure that type of work is done before a position is posted. In addition to that, I've asked that folks that when you have an interview is that I want the stakeholders. So for example, there was a position for a fiscal supervisor senior, maybe working with parks. They're going to be assigned to parks. I would like to make sure someone from parks is part of the evaluation committee to interview that person. That's who we got to make sure. The chief of reimbursement, Lauren Drake, was hired for there. We made sure that since you work with the circuit court, Chris Bujak was part of that process. We really need to make sure that our stakeholders are our partners internally. So that's where we're at in terms of making sure that we, and the tone that we're saying is that we want to work with everybody. The last thing is, I'm trying to figure out how long is a position has to be posted, 2 weeks or 10 days? For this, I've asked for 30 days. I want to make sure that people think ahead to make sure we get the right talent inside the county. So to do that, I think sometimes you have to open this up longer. And that it's not just internally posted, it has to be posted externally. Because sometimes we need to bring talent from outside just to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the taxpayers.
And in our HR department, we do work with another agency, correct? To do outside outreach?
How does, on HR, you guys have a talent, so they have a talent acquisition team inside of HR.
Okay.
So that's, so.
I was just making sure, because I thought I heard that before. Okay, got it. All right.
So so a person who's trying to hire, so they would work clearly with the folks inside of our HR team. Yep.
Thank you, sorry.
No problem.
Okay. Commissioner Fitzgerald had a question.
Thank you, Chair. Brian, good to see you. I just wanted you to clarify in the files that we have, for example, one that says total county positions and the other one says professional services contract review. There's like a salmon colored highlight in those files, but I couldn't deduce why it was highlighted. So if you could just shed a little light on.
Is there a slide that you were?
It's not in the slide, it's one of the documents in our packet.
And so the highlighted portion is just your contracted services, the professional services.
Okay,
So
could you?
it should have a page number on there too.
Okay, let me.
63, yep. And so for commissioner purposes, the salmon highlight is just because there's multiple departments that are listed on each page, and so that should just help you highlight the department that we're reviewing at this time.
Very smart. Okay, perfect. And I think the only other question I had at this time was,
So you talked about professional services, who management budget may be working with on that. So inside of fiscal services, maybe additional services that we may need for a service called Debt Book, something that we use to manage the debt service payments for all the different bond issues for not only the county, but also the Water Resource Commissioner, so that would be paid out of there. We would also have, in that case, if there was additional services that the fiscal services needed from the Raymond team for ongoing training, because that's one of the things that you're worried about, is making sure that we have the right tools and making sure people. We also had for services, essentially in this current year, it was coordinated through Tiffany and her team, is that we held a countywide grant compliance training. So we had 50 individuals from across inside of fiscal services and then other folks where we essentially, we paid for it out of the management budget rather than charging the individual departments. We just consolidated into our budget because quite honestly, grant compliance is underneath, Mr. Straub and his team.
That's wonderful, and because I know our time is always limited in these things, I just want to make sure I'm clear. For example, in the smaller book, by next week Tuesday, I'll know what to call these things. The categoricals.
Okay,
49.
49.
So I guess my question is just simply, when it says fiscal year 2027 expenditures, this is a forecast. You're basically saying under contractual services increases, you're forecasting that increases in terms of those attributes. For example, internal services decrease, and you've got some reasons here, infotech development and the like. So is this a forecast, or is based on your expectations for 2027?
Yes, I mean, in terms of, for internal services and in terms of tech development, those are essentially that, on the tech side, those are the dollars that kind of like a forecast from IT. And I don't know if Mr. Straub or Ebru had any, go ahead.
Yes, so specifically on the internal service portion, those are allocations for, say, infotech operations, infotech development, that type of thing. For the contractual services portion, that primarily is going to be reflecting how we're putting some budgets back. A great example of this is we increased the training by $37,500. These were dollars that were given to procurement for the OpenGov platform. That's going back into fiscal services budget, actually management and budget overall. It's split between, specifically so that way we can continue doing things like that grant compliance training.
I'm going to encourage everybody when you're speaking, please make sure the mic is close to your face. Thank you.
Anything else, I'll just follow up with the staff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Long?
Thank you. I'm going to put it real close. So I just want to understand this. So I'm taking just a line item out of the big book to page 213. I'm a little more old-fashioned. I'm still using the book instead of the computer. I like this book. So on page 213 under personal mileage, it's item 731346. So unaudited actuals was 10,707. This might be a Cheryl question, maybe. But then we budgeted in this year 87,797, but we don't have an actual for that yet. Is that correct? Or like what we spent actually on personal mileage? So I'm just wondering if that unaudited, we only spent 10,000, why do we keep budgeting almost 88,000 for personal mileage? I guess help me understand that unaudited actuals.
So on the actual side, I'll refer back to Shannon Lee or Candice Giles for that.
Okay.
And then on the budgeting side, I'll work with Brent Straub and his team. So again, you're on page 213.
Right, and then I can use this example. I'm using the personal mileage as an example for the number being so different, and then I'll understand all the line. I just want to understand the unaudited actual right there.
Sure.
I think that's something different, I believe, right? Or is it last year too?
Yeah.
It might have been last year.
Yep. So the first column is 2024. Is those actual? Those are essentially actual expenditures.
Right.
For FY 2026, essentially this is our current year. This is essentially unaudited, so we don't have a full year. That's why it's only 10,700. But then I see your question. Our adopted budget
Is 87.
87,000. So right now we have a favorability. It looks like $77,000. Okay.
But the year's not done, so that 10,000 is saying up to 2026. That's what the personal mileage has been thus far. Is
Yeah,
that
if you were
correct?
to look back between the last two, 60,000 and then
Right,
44.
and then 44.
So you could say on average, say say we're 50 grand a year.
Right,
So the
right.
question you have are saying, okay, if at 87,
mean-
should we be going further? I
But
think
the
that,
gas is a lot now, so maybe,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe you should leave it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that
gas.
the reimbursement rate keeps going up from
Right.
the federal guidelines. And then also too is that one of the things that we're anticipating is training. So one of the things that we did in FY 2026, there's an association is the Michigan Women in Public Finance, people who are trying to collaborate with other women in the public finance group. This year, the county sponsored membership into that, and that this year we had six or eight members from the county. We had 2 from the treasurer's office, but the remaining 6 came from fiscal. This is where some of their dollars could go if they're.
And I really wasn't picking like personal mileage, that was just one, you know, so I know the unaudited actuals, is this up until this date as of
that
now?
was,
It's as of May, so you'll
Okay.
see both budget amendments and actuals within, for 2026, we show as of May.
Okay,
So-
so I just was using that, just so you know, as an example,
Mm-hmm.
is maybe that 87 is a little higher, but if you don't spend it, then the money just is there anyway, so it's a placeholder, I get that. And we don't
Yeah,
know
it-
exactly what you're gonna spend for that, but, okay,
So if there's money that's traditionally that money that's not spent, then it just goes back to the general fund.
okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Before I call on you, Madam Vice Chair, I'm going to call back on Commissioner Powell.
Okay, I got 2 more questions. And they off our sheet. And I don't know there's a lot going on, so if you answered it, just tell me he answered it. With the cancellation of OpenGov strategic sourcing platform, what processes or reporting tools will procurement use to track solicitation, vendor performances, contract exceptions, and compliance issues? That's one question.
Okay.
My second question is, what is the current processes for identifying and following up on suspected misuse of county funds, grant funds, pass-through dollars, or contract payments? And is that process clear enough for departments, employees, vendors, and commissioners?
All right.
Those are my 2 questions.
All right,
Thank you.
so the first question, I'm going to defer over to Alicia Williams, which is essentially with the cancellation of OpenGov. And so go ahead.
Yep. So for right now, we're going to focus back onto Workday. So we're doing a lot of just kind of fact findings with them on how we can expand the service that we have that will basically incorporate a contract supplier manual into the existing system.
Okay. And then anything else, Ms. Williams?
No.
Okay. Commissioner, did that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
I knew some transitions was going on in that part.
Yep. Okay, yep. The current process of identifying the misuse of county funds. So that's kind of multifaceted. So I could certainly go to the process. I mean, as you can imagine, when the invoice comes in, I mean, if it's appropriated, we make sure that the money. But yeah, it's really high. I mean, it's really, I guess there's checks and balances inside the system. One of the things that we are really looking at is, you probably see here, is we ask for a grant compliance coordinator. It's not so much that we're misusing, we're making sure that the money that are inside this grant is actually being spent where it is, and that we get the full reimbursement, especially if there's a county match to a grant from that perspective. So, all right. Any other questions?
Commissioner Taylor has a question for you.
Yes, hi, thank you. I enjoyed your presentation thus far. Thank you for the grants, the federal grants, and that being singled out and explained. But what about contracts? There are several contracts within your department. The Board of Commissioners, we want to be a help to you, but we need to know what contracts are coming up, when they're ending, when they're starting, you know, that kind of thing, so that, and how long they are, the dollar amount, the reasons. We're not talking, you know, paper towel, toilet tissue, anything like that. I'm talking important contracts. Say, for instance, the ones with the Pontiac redevelopment project. There's a lot of contracts in there. But in order for us to help you, we need to know what those contracts are, what they're for, and how long. So that if we have something coming up that's ending in June, we can be proactive and say, hey, in December or January, hey, Brian, where are we on this particular contract?
I'm going to actually, from my perspective, my expectations under procurement is that this is a huge initiative / KPI for them in terms of their performance, is that if a contract is ending, say, after their 3+1+1 after the 5 years, the question is, when does the stakeholder, i.e. say management, budget, sheriff's office, when is procurement going to start reaching out to them so that we have a smooth transition, especially if there's a change in a vendor and there has to be time for transition.
Correct.
So I don't want to put words in Ms. Williams' mouth, but that's my expectation. But go ahead.
So we're getting better at this. Ideally, we want to be at least 6 to 12 months out. We're not there yet, which is why you are getting some of these exceptions. There's a couple things that we want to do to kind of stabilize us out. And really, it is working with each of those departments right now to see where are we for the next 2 years. Because I'd rather come across the street one time and just tell you this is what we're all working on that's strategic, whether it's for the Pontiac project, the CPI projects, wherever it's at, so that you have all of that information at once. And then once we get everyone, we get all the staff in, we get them all trained up, then we'll start to really work with those departments, ideally like a month ahead of time. We'll look at contracts every month so that we'll stay on top of it. So getting back to what Brian was talking about in terms of having strategic sourcing agents in those bigger spends with those bigger departments, we should be working like lock and step with them to be ahead of that. And the exceptions for needing additional time to bid those services out should start to come down. But right now, I will tell you, it's all over it's all over the place. It's whoever really kind of recognizes it first. But we are trying to get more into a cadence, and that's just going to be with maturity within the procurement department. But we are getting better at it. I will tell you that.
Okay.
I think the other thing I'd like to add, though, is that sometimes we have the same vendor in different departments. So the other thing that Ms. Williams is trying to do in her team is have like a master service contract. So, and then you add different scope of work for whatever the other department, and then you can have uniform pricing. So this is essentially moving forward to having, like, rather than seeing company X on 5 different locations, we have one, and then you see who they serve.
Okay.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So that's.
So we have started doing that. And so basically to make that actually happen, we got to reach across the aisle. So if it's typically like, a facilities contract, but, IT uses it, or, the sheriff's department uses it, when the buyer gets that notification that that contract is going to expire, then he or she is going to reach out to all those different departments to say, hey, this contract is going to be expiring. It looks like you used them in some capacity. Would you like to be a part of this RFP process? Hopefully the answer is yes. Sometimes we've done it, I think, at least twice now. One department just didn't have enough bandwidth, so left it up to the remaining departments to kind of make the decisions for them. But we do want to let everybody know at one time that this contract is going to be expiring. And then, like Brian said, it's one contract, and then it's just multiple scopes of work, but they all will be coterminous. So everything will, the scope of work may end sooner, but nothing will go above that master agreement date.
Thank you. And then 2 other things. I think when we were talking, I know Commissioner Long was just using it as an example, but on reimbursement for gas, or it's not really gas, it's mileage, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that regulated by the federal government? And you know that at the beginning, whenever they set it. So when you set your budget, is there a way for you to use that rate and then come up with an amount? Just a thought.
Yeah, I think other than thinking of what are we anticipated for travel, yes, but in terms of where they travel, not so sure anymore.
Gotcha.
Again, you could have, somebody could take an Uber, that maybe an Uber is different than just driving your own car.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, but I know we are aware of, like, essentially the mileage is set by the federal government in terms of that reimbursement. So, and then as you know, those T&E reports or travel and entertainment reports come through the same person through fiscal services, and they look at it. So.
Okay, and then I saw a lot about personnel, but I didn't see or hear anything about succession planning. Have you identified the key positions within your department, ones you could not the county could not operate without? And then has a succession plan been put in place for those key positions?
Well, I'm the oldest there. But yes, I'm constantly thinking about succession planning. But one of the things that we did actually start last year was the bridge program. I think if you recall, is that fiscal services worked with HR, is that one of the things is that we kind of need the employee to say, we are planning to retire as of a certain date. So then when we come with a bridge position, they have 5 months before. And so we actually essentially are funding 2 people for the same job, so for the same job. So there's a transfer of knowledge prior to that retiree's retirement date. So it's really working, essentially saying, hey, we have that. So we're making sure that not only just say management budget, other departments know that they have that availability. Actually, during the budget presentations to the county exec, I think we had one of the departments didn't realize that that was something that was available. So I think we are trying to definitely make sure that departments know countywide that there is this program for succession. Now, in terms of folks that I'm not aware of people, unless they tell us who's going to be retiring, but at least there's a tool that's already available that we can deploy right away and come to the board, because we need that position approved by the Board of Commissioners for that bridge position. So on the bridge position, the retiree, the person that's going to retire, moves into the temporary position, i.e. the bridge position, and then they hire for the permanent in the old full-time position, if that makes sense.
And you have identified all the key positions that you couldn't work without.
Yeah. Right now, in terms of, I'm not planning in the sense of myself or anybody else leaving, but I would certainly, I really want to encourage folks who, if they're.
One thing I wanted to give as an example is we've asked for that grants compliance coordinator position. This is one of the key positions within Oakland County. Every single grant for Oakland County goes through one person, and that's Tiffany. If she takes a day off, the process stops. If she's out sick, the process stops. So in order to make sure that we can continue, engaging and making sure that we do maintain the great level of compliance that we do have here at Oakland County, we're investing in adding this additional position for that type of key role. And even structurally, we're looking at our existing positions to figure out how can we start elevating some of these folks to be, the next supervisor in waiting, the next chief in waiting. So that way we ensure that all staff feel like they have a path forward, whether they want to be the best individual contributor that they want to be in that role, or what's the path forward should they choose to want to try to go into management. We're really trying to be forward-thinking and a lot smarter about how we're approaching some of this.
I think the last thing I want to say is on the supervisor senior positions that are open, the vacant positions. One of the things I asked was to update the position description. But what that also meant is that we also had to put in a blurb that you may be doing this for the WRC, you may be doing this for other departments, so that a person who applies for this position knows that we can move that person across so they're not so pigeonholed inside of one area. So we're trying to make sure that they're exposed if they want to, or if an opening comes up, we can actually reassign somebody. And then, again, that essentially is working with our partners at the UAW, because they had to review that position description. They clearly understand what we're trying to do. So that's right now is being done.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Was that it? Well, I was just going to ask you if there was something that you really wanted that you didn't get in your budget, that you said, okay, I'll defer to next year. But if you could get that one thing, not one, I mean, you probably got a list, but if there's just one thing that you've deferred or didn't receive in this budget process.
I think the stuff that's administratively we're trying to do automatically, but from an appropriations perspective, I really appreciate what we have presented here. I mean, I know with the grant coordinator, I mean, that was really elevated this year. I think that's, again, Mr. Straub saying, didn't realize we have only one person for all of our grants. And stuff like that. So that's really, we're trying to make sure that what's in front of you is everything that we have asked for. So I appreciate that question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we try to make sure training is here. People's ask.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're just about out of time for this department, unless, Commissioner Erickson Galt, sorry.
Yeah, hopefully this will be quick.
That's all right, take whatever time you need.
Okay, so on your the positions, you're showing a reduction of 15 in equalization, if my math in my head is correct. And you were, I believe you said earlier that was just the positions that are not currently filled of people who've already left, or is that anticipating additional people leaving because of the voluntary separation program?
So the positions that we're deleting are positions where people have already left during this budget year. So people that were, I'm going to call it, say, 60 that are here now are in the budget that's for 2027 and thereafter. We gave assurances to the employees is that we're asking for full employment, and then when the voluntaries, if they decide to take the VSIP, then we're going to have to come back to you, the board, to eliminate their positions once they leave. And then as a reminder, that timing is this fiscal year. It's going to be their last day if they decide to take it. Is the worst case is September 18th. So we're going to have to come back near the end and say who took the VSIP, what is going to be the impact on the budget, because then we're going to have to impact the 2027 expenditure line item again. So, but until somebody signs that document, we can't do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then the other question is, with that reduction, which obviously is necessary because of the reduction in the amount of contracts that we have with our CVTs, are you anticipating any issues with staffing in terms of being able to get done the essential tasks of the equalization department? Have you figured out how to rearrange staff and so that we can get everything done that we need to get done?
Sure. There's two extremes. One is that right now there's enough staffing to meet the needs of either the assessing contracts or the equalization side. If in the event that under the VSIP we have, and use the extreme, let's say 40 people out of the remaining 60 say we want to do the VSIP. If you recall, the county has the ability to ask people to defer their separation for up to 2 years because we need continuity of services. In addition to that, some folks are going to invoke the VSIP, but they're going to also have the ability to say, I want to do the VSIP, but would you consider that I'm working on a special project right now, because there could be an audit that's right now that from the state is going to come in here in the next year on the equalization and assessing side. So we may, Mr. Lohmeyer may say, I really would need these folks to stick around, say, for another 6 months, even though they have that, and then we determine their separation date at that time. Those folks are supposed to give, if they decide to take the VSIP or at least put in a petition to stay, their due date is August 14th, and then we will turn back our response by the 26th of August, so that they then can say whether I want to take the VSIP or not by September 3rd. And then, as you recall, there's a 7-day separation, and then their last day would be the September 18th. So we're making sure that the services to the locals there's integrity and continuity.
Okay. I have one question, and that relates to salary for electeds, because somewhere in what we talked about, you said, there's an across-the-board 3% raise for everybody in the new budget. Explain how the electeds are handled for that, because I've had at least one elected say to me, with the new raise, people working for me make more than I do. And it's a fair question, but I guess I'd just like to know from you guys how this is handled.
Yeah. So, Mr. Straub, because there's one of the things we talk about, the IRM, which is essentially, it's kind of like the CPI that come from the State Tax Commission, which is really the 2.7 last year.
Right.
This year it's going to probably be like 3.1, but
I'm actually going to defer to our friends in compensation on that.
So the Board of Commissioners set their salaries for the 4-year term of office with that code, but each year you're required to address the other elected officials' salaries. They were not included in that resolution. Last year, the Board of Commissioners did decide to go with that ARM. Is that what it's called?
It's IRM.
IRM. But, yeah, so you would need to bring this forward this year. I believe Lago.
Yeah, so it would be essentially a resolution through Lago for elected. If it needs to be something different, then probably 3%, if there's going to be something different.
Okay.
But we were using the benchmark of what's through the State Tax Commission.
Right.
That's what we had identified as a source.
Yeah. And we can provide compensation data from other counties if you would like to see that.
Okay. I just wanted to know how it was handled because I've been asked. Commissioner Powell?
So wait,
You gotta use your mic.
so was it, elected, was it like concerned that somebody that works under them make
Yeah.
more than them?
Yeah. Yes.
That was the
What
question that
does-
was
I
put to
mean,
me, so
the-
I'm
the
just asking.
scale, How, I mean, the scale and how, in their position and all of that, wouldn't that happen though? Or it shouldn't happen?
It's just why I asked the question of how it's
okay, that's
handled.
why,
So,
okay.
I mean,
We're
I
not
can
gonna
give.
solve it here.
Yeah,
It's just,
but
it's a question that's been put forward to me, and I thought this was
Yeah, I
probably
just,
as good a
depending on
place
the
to ask
ranking
it.
of the staffer, some of them may, depending on what the elected, salaries was set
Right.
at. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but to get mad about it, that's not a good thing when you got, let me keep my comments to myself.
So
Thank you,
I-
never
Yeah, we
mind.
can talk about this offline, but it's been brought to me just as a question, how is it handled? And I didn't know exactly how to answer it, so that's why I'm asking.
No,
it.
our friends at Comp are
And other
helpful.
than that, if we don't have anything else for Mr. Leffler today, and his staff, thank you all for coming in.
Thank you.
Please feel free to take a snack out of the other room. Really, you worked hard. So that ends the budget hearing for the management and budget.
We'll go right into the
You want to go
treasurer's
into the
office,
treasurer's?
and then we can do a
And
break.
then we'll do a break after that? Okay, yeah, because I know at least one of us needs to leave. What? I know, I'm trying though. We started a little bit late. Right. That's why I work.
We have a clicker for you.
Got it. Thank you.
We'll just ask that you talk into the mic. It's kind of awkward when you want to turn around. If you do want a handheld, we have one handheld mic as
It's
well.
fine. That's fine.
Computer?
Yeah, we
Oh,
do. I have the clicker. Am I good with it?
Nice. You're good with it.
Okay. They said speak.
What is it?
This? Do you like this?
I know, the red one, it's nice.
I go back and get it in order myself. That's cute. Y'all want to red No, I like that one. Jody, I'm stealing it out of the club. I'm her friend, I'm gonna go red on the phone.
Do it.
All right.
Jody, I'm stealing it out of the club.
How are you?
All right, is the committee ready for,
Doesn't sound like it.
We're talking about clothes.
Yeah.
all right, we're pretty prepared, actually. All right, next up, we have our county treasurer and his staff, and the floor is yours. Go ahead and introduce yourself and whatever else you want to tell us.
Sounds good. Again, this is always awkward as I'm talking to
And
you.
we don't mind.
Okay,
So,
I will.
think Brian spent most of his
I'll-
talk standing sideways.
I'll probably do something similar. Well, good afternoon, Chair Markham, and then rest of the committee members. Robert Wittenberg, Oakland County Treasurer, joined by Jody Defoe, our Chief Deputy Treasurer, and then Jill Robinson, Deputy Treasurer and Property Specialist and Executive Director of our Oakland County Land Bank Authority. She's got the longest business card in our office. So we'll go to the next slide. So you're doing the slides, and I'll do the talking for now. So today we're presenting the Treasurer's Office budget for fiscal years 2027 through 2029. Our general fund budget of $10.1 million provides the necessary resources for our office to deliver our statutorily required services, and it will continue to absorb the current costs of the Oakland County Land Bank Authority, which we've done for a few years now, and Jill will talk about that a little later. We believe that our residents deserve access to the highest quality of service from our team, and I truly think that they get that on a day-to-day basis from our all-star team. We continue to monitor tax collection rates. So we had an 11.89% increase in delinquent taxes turned over to our office this year on March 1st. Last year was 87.5 million for 2024 taxes that turned over in 25, and this year was 97.9 million for 2025 taxes. We also, some of the stuff isn't on the slides, but as far as parcels that turned over delinquent, to kind of give you the trend of what we're seeing, 2023 taxes turned over 23,347, 2024, 24,759, and 2025 was 25,727. But the good news is less than 3% of countywide real property taxes are turned over to us. So in essence, over 97% are paid on time and are not delinquent. Those numbers are for the 24 taxes. There's a slight uptick, 24 taxes that turned over to us last year in 25, 97.3%. 2025 taxes that turned over to us this year. I know it can be confusing. I'll go through a chart later that explains it. This year was 97.04%. Other budgetary impacts that we're going to cover, we reclassified our personal property tax collectors that were in our office to financial counselors. So again, that's a plug to all of you and all of our commissioners that are listening, and even people at home. Make referrals for constituents who need assistance. If they need budgeting, debt review, credit assistance, helping to sign up if they qualify for the poverty exemption, like financial coaches that are within our office. And again, we're trying to be proactive and try to help. This budget also includes a request for a new position of a chief of financial accounting. This position was eliminated after retirement, but it's essential for our leadership and strategic oversight within the banking and accounting side of our office. We also wanted to share, we received a local grant from the Pontiac Funders Collaborative to support a GIS analyst within our office, and he has done an amazing job. Jill's going to cover that and talk about that position and the work they're doing. The other adjustments in the budget are based on cost of inflation and aligning to changes in vendors and prior year activities. So I think I covered that, and we'll go to the next slide. So a lot of numbers here, a lot of things that we do in our office, just kind of highlights what we're doing. I'm not going to go through all the specifics, but to give you an idea of some of the duties within our office, again, we talk about the collection of the delinquent real and personal property taxes on behalf of the 63 CVTs here in Oakland County, receiving and dispersing county funds to meet our cash flow requirements. Again, we invest our surplus funds, and we do that in accordance with, we have a county investment policy and also Public Act 20 of 1943. So that's for all municipalities across the state. We're governed by that. We run our local government investment pool. So we invest on behalf of, I forget the number, but it's more than half, I think 40-something communities here in Oakland County actually use us as an investment. We invest funds on their behalf. It's their money, we invest it, and then they can get it back whenever they need to. Also, via this position as the treasurer, I serve as the treasurer for the county's Building Authority, Arts Authority, Zoo Authority, Economic Development Corporation, Business Finance Corporation, and our retirement board. We manage the debt portfolio in collaboration with fiscal services and obviously supporting the retention of our AAA bond rating, and then also serve as the chair of our Land Bank Authority. We talked about this a little, but we've completed settlement and distribution to help cash flow the local communities via the Delinquent Tax Revolving Fund, or DTRF, as you always hear it. And we continue to administer the delinquent tax collection process, which backfills that fund. And one thing else to highlight, just with our collaboration with the local communities, this year I did my third treasurer's tour. So I did one when I first got into office in 21, did another one in 23, and then just did another one in 25, trying to meet with every single CVT in Oakland County, meeting with their treasurer. This year we did, last year I guess it was 25, we met with 59 of the 63. So there's a couple that we reach out and we try to get in touch with them, and they don't really respond. They're really small, and it's people working part-time. But we'd love to get to all of them, but 59 I think is a good number, just to talk to them about what goes on in our office, how we can be helpful to them, how we can all work well together. So we'll go to the next slide. So this is this kind of shows you the timeline here. I know it's small for some of you to read, but to kind of give you an idea of what that tax foreclosure timeline looks like. This is the last full cycle of the foreclosure process. So this is 2022 taxes for a 2025 foreclosure year. So just so you can see these, so 2022 taxes turned over March 1st, so they were billed in 2022 by their local communities, usually a summer bill in July, a winter bill in December, and then if they don't pay by March 1st, it turns over to our office. So 2022 taxes turned over March 1st, 2023, that's that 41,498. That 39,000 number below, that is people that paid in full, so that's great. The 1463, those are people that we put on repayment agreements. So we had in our office taxpayer assistance meetings. I know I've talked to all of you about that previously. These are one-on-one confidential meetings that we have with taxpayers who are struggling and try to get them onto a repayment agreement. As I tell everyone, we cannot forgive them their taxes, their interest, their fees, but we can help them try to find grants and give them some time to hopefully get in a better position to get caught up. So last year, the bottom number is kind of the number to look at, is 167. That was properties that were foreclosed, that went to land sale. I would say that was slightly inflated because we had one person who owned, I think it was 50 properties they were all vacant and they're all in Pontiac, and we kept trying to foreclose actually because this person just wasn't paying and was in essence just sitting on the property as a speculator. And then finally the judge ruled that this person had to pay or they would be foreclosed, and they didn't pay. So those numbers are a little inflated. To let you know about this year, we're at 105 properties this year for our land sale for 2026. So that would have been 2023 taxes turned over this year in 2026. And so we pride ourselves on these numbers. This is, a pretty low number when you think about the over 500,000 parcels here in Oakland County. I told you about our taxpayer assistance meetings that we do, getting people onto repayment agreements. We do a really robust outreach. I try to go speak to as many city council and township board meetings as possible to let people know that help is available. It's all hands on deck in our office. There are 7 of us, including these 2 here, and myself, that do these taxpayer assistance meetings with people. We start them in December, and we're doing them every single day until March 31st. You can see the different engagements to try to help businesses with their personal property taxes, and then also you can see the resources and notices that went out. We actually send every property that is subject to foreclosure that's getting there. There are 8 mailings per year that go to them, and then there are 2 property visits. So someone goes to the property and actually posts the property. So that, again, trying to let people know that we're here to help and that we're trying to prevent foreclosure. There are quite a few properties that I actually visit myself as well. So, and then our multimedia outreach campaign, over 2 million broadcast, streaming, digital, and print advertising impressions to let people know that they need to reach out to us, that we don't know they need help unless they tell us they need help. So that's the work we're doing to try to prevent foreclosure. So we'll go to the next slide. So these are 3 initiatives. We talked a little bit about this last year, but they've been expanded quite a bit, and they keep growing. So the first one is the Smart Finance Academy. This is something that was formerly under Michigan Works, and it was called Financial Fitness, but obviously there were budget cuts at the federal level. So we took over this program, I think it was 13 months ago. This is a free webinar series, and it's on various financial topics. We've hosted sessions on, and we've partnered with I'll talk about some of the ones we've partnered with other departments here at the county, but on budgeting, buying your first home, credit repair, financial scams. We did that one with Sheriff Bouchard and someone from the Attorney General's office. We did one on Oakland County parks, and then free and low-cost activities that are available to people here in the county, partnering with Chris Ward and Zach Zuckowitz on that, and also did something with Michael Lohmeyer talking about the assessment notice when that goes out, and so people can understand that and understanding their taxes and their assessment. So, what's that? Oh, yeah, and it's on our website. Those we actually archive those, and they sit live on our website. So anyone that missed those can actually go back and watch those at another time. And upcoming webinars, so we have 2 upcoming webinars, FYI. August 26th is post-secondary education with Oakland schools, so funding. So this is the FAFSA and different scholarship opportunities. So that's partnering with Oakland schools. And then in September, we're doing a webinar on navigating today's job market, and we're doing that with workforce development here at the county as well. So that's on September 17th. The next program right there in the middle, that is our homebuyer assistance program that we have in partnership with Independent Bank. We talked about this last year, but the numbers keep going up, which is great. It helps low to moderate income individuals and families with down payment assistance. It is a $5,000 grant. They do not have to pay it back. Since the inception of the program, we have done 89 grants throughout the county. 27 different communities here in Oakland County, so houses bought in 27 different communities, and 23% identifying as minority first-time home buyers. And then our last program there, is our residential property tax education series. This one took a little while. We filmed it, and then we had to edit it and do everything to get it live. It is live. It went live last year. And this provides essential knowledge about property taxes and preventing tax foreclosure. Again, they're on our website, the videos on understanding your tax assessment notice, pop-up taxes, your summer and winter tax bill, and understanding and reading that. For people who pay off their mortgage, but we want them to know they still have to pay their taxes to understand that. So there's a lot on our website there. So all that stuff lives on our website if you want to check that out. So I think we're going to start into the fiscal charts. I went through as quickly and try to be as comprehensive as I could in that time. But so now with our fiscal charts, and then I'll pass it over to Jill in just a few minutes. So this is the slide, and I'm looking here obviously at the computers rather than here. It's probably easier for me, sorry. So it shows revenues, budgets versus actuals. And obviously you can see it's pretty consistent. The revenue spike though that you see in the actual column are due to land sale auction proceeds and when they are posted after the claims process is complete. So I didn't really talk about this, but just kind of the brief background on this is the law changed previously where if someone is foreclosed, they can submit a claim form and they can get any kind of surplus funds. So anything less the taxes, the interest, the fees, and there's a maintenance and a real estate fee that's built in as well. And then, so it's let's say it's $10,000 and it sells for $100,000, they're entitled to that $90,000 surplus. So that's money that comes in. Yes, absolutely. I like that reaction. So, so they're entitled to that, but that money, right, comes through us and then goes back out from our office. So in fiscal year 2025, we requested a budget amendment to account for the land sale revenue. So it occurs, again, like I said, the fourth quarter of each fiscal year. So
just to stop you, that was a change in the state law.
Correct.
That forced us to do that. In the past, we kept that money, but the state law changed, which made us have to give that money back.
Yep. So if I'll take just a second to give the history on that, if you don't mind. So this is actually a law that changed when I was in the legislature previously and voted on this. So it used to be, and this all emanated from Oakland County. It wasn't only Oakland County doing it. This was state law, and this is what all 83 counties were doing, but it started here in Oakland County, if you all remember the Raffaelli decision. So ultimately, it used to be once you were foreclosed, you lost all rights, you lost everything to your property. We voted on this new process so that once you are foreclosed, if you have an interest in the property, you submit a claim form and then you are entitled to the surplus proceeds. It is a judicial process. Our office kind of handles it, but ultimately it's the judge who decides. So if there's multiple claimants, they will kind of reconcile those and decide how they want to split it or if someone actually really is entitled or not. So this is what changed over time. And that's why, and then the Raffaelli, we settled that. We used to show that to you every time we were here. That is no longer on here and hasn't been on here. And we're happy to put that in the past. So yes, thank you for that. I guess we'll go to the next slide. So our categories of budgeted revenue are also very consistent, as you'll see. So under property taxes, those are pilots, swampland, DNR land, the charges for services, LGIP administration fee, so we talked about the investing that we do for the local communities. We take a very small percentage. Accounting fees for authorities, tax foreclosure process fees like title search, posting the property, maintenance of the property, and then you see our investment income. Again, that's Paul Zelenek, who's our investment administrator, doing that on behalf of the county surplus funds. And then the transfers in is the annual transfer from the DTRF. So I think we'll go to the next slide. So this slide shows, let's see here, expenditures, budgets versus actual. So our adopted budget is also very consistent. The spike, again, in the fiscal year 2025 was due to the large claims from the tax foreclosure process. So we requested a budget amendment for that. I don't know if there's anything else we have to cover on there. We'll go to the next slide. So this is personnel, and so staff and fringe benefits, and you see this is an expenditure that is steadily increasing. I know that's happening all across the board. Operating expenses, foreclosure notifications, title search, recording fees to the Register of Deeds, property maintenance, posting of the property, so all the different things that go through that process. The internal services, this is building space allocation, IT, insurance, telephones, et cetera. And then the other is the demolition paid through through facilities as a transfer out. So slide 12 here, let me see. This is, personnel. So 5 open positions, but we have 2 offers that have been made in the last few weeks, and actually both, I think, just started. One started this week. So we still have about 2 open positions that we are kind of working on as well. So that gives you that. These are easy slides to go through because we have 0 federal grants that we utilize. The only grant I mentioned earlier was a local grant from the Pontiac Funders Collaborative. That was our only grant. So with that, I'm going to turn it to Jill Robinson, who will kick it up a notch for all of us. Oh, yeah.
Chris. Can I ask the question before he switches over?
And I'll be here afterwards
too,
but yeah.
presentation. So one quick question. I didn't remember, I did not write down the staff that you need. How long was that position vacant?
The one I mentioned?
What was it, accounting, what was it called?
Chief.
Treasurer's Chief of Financial Accounting.
Okay,
Treasurer's Chief of Financial.
How long has that been vacant?
It didn't exist.
So this is a new position, and then has that been approved in this budget? It's included in this budget?
Yes.
So that was one of your wants, and then it's approved, and it's in this budget now?
Yep, and then there's one other one that we will talk about that Jill will kind of highlight, and then we'll mention at the end.
Okay, that was my first question.
Yep.
Thank you, and I forgot to write, I know it was a long title, and I forgot to write it down.
No, that's okay.
And so then I saw on your slide, we have invested 1.2 billion of county funds invested.
Yep.
And our interest earned was, I think I saw 50 million. I don't know if I wrote down 50 million.
Could be right.
What average? I mean, I didn't figure out with my calculator.
Like our interest rate?
Yeah, what's our average interest rate? How are we doing? Because they're so low. Are they going back up again a little?
So they had to start. So you got to think about it. We're big, and it's like turning a ship. And so we finally are now higher than most other places people are investing. Again, we're conservative in what we invest in, right? Safety is number 1, then liquidity is number 2, and then yield is number 3. But we are now over 4%, which is higher than you'll get from a lot of these. There's like other pools that people operate around the state and liquid funds, and so we are over 4%. And so we actually had a lot of local communities who have started to increase their money with us.
So that's coming back up, which is good.
It is back up.
It used to be 11%, but some of us remember that. I'm old. When I got 11%, you were like, woo! Now it's like if you get 4, it's great, or 3.
It is a different
time. Okay, so it's about 4 now that we're getting.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Long.
So Jill.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jill Robinson. I'm the director for the Oakland County Land Bank Authority that's seated in the Oakland County Treasurer's Office. Just to talk to you about a few of our most impactful projects over the past year or so. Starting off with our blight elimination funding through the State Land Bank Authority. Our focus is blight elimination for these, specifically 3 blighted schools. And I don't know how often I've talked about schools to this audience, but we've had conversations throughout the years with specifically Pontiac about what to do with the empty schools that are vacant, deteriorating. There are barriers to redevelopment, et cetera, reducing property values in neighborhoods. So we were able to get funding for 3 schools to demolish them. McCarroll School, which is owned by the city of Pontiac. We had a collaboration on that one. The city put in some funds, the land bank put in the other funds. That is now being built as the new Pontiac Recreation Center. It's a $37 million project. Emerson School in Pontiac, owned by a nonprofit, locally demolished, and they're going to be building a new pocket neighborhood, which is smaller footprint houses with community amenities and green space, and hopes of helping out the loneliness epidemic that I think we all are starting to see with our residents. And then Weaver School is one that the county treasurer has owned since 2014. We just received funding for that, and that demolition is almost done. And we're working with the city of Pontiac on the next phase of that, what that's going to look like, likely some form of affordable housing. And then, of course, the what do we call it? The stabilization of the 2 GM Modern Housing houses. Stabilization led to the renovation of those 2 houses, and they have sold, and they have new homeowners in there, and that has led to further community revitalization. So that's pretty exciting. We held on to those houses for probably since 2014 too. And it's really interesting to drive in that neighborhood and see all the change that is taking place. And also the recreation center is in that neighborhood as well. So it's lots of parkland, a new rec center, and some new housing. The next slide, please. Oh, you got it. So the upper left corner shows the current construction of the recreation center. The bottom left shows the finished project. And then the right-hand picture, I can't miss an opportunity to talk about Casa del Rey. Set to have residents in there by the end of this year. And also, I forgot, the Weaver demolition that we owned for a long time, our demo contractor found a time capsule. So we took it over to city council, they had it at a meeting, they televised it, it was very exciting. There was articles and letters from, is it Fred Weaver, I think? But it was a really cool video, and it's out there if anybody likes to see it. And this Casa del Rey is going to be missing middle, 53 units, and that's anywhere from 60 to 120% AMI. Next. And then I want to spend a few minutes talking about something that I'm really excited about. I'm excited about all the projects, but this has kind of highlighted, I think, what we were missing a little bit. I think it represents the kind of smart, efficient investment that the county likes. For years, I've been here since 2014, so literally years. We've talked about creating a comprehensive map in Pontiac to show what the county owns, what the city owns, how we can assemble things together. So this year we applied for a grant through the Pontiac Funders Collaborative, which is part of the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan. We received that grant to hire a GIS contractor to build this map. And honestly, he's dynamic. He built the map faster than we could have ever imagined, and then some. So we have this great map that can help us tell stories so we don't have to rely on anecdotes anymore. We can wrap the stories up with actual data and have better conversations out in the community and with our CVT partners. We can show parcel by parcel. We work with the Housing Trust Fund, with planning and economic development, community partners, so we don't have to talk in generalities about where our properties are related to each other. We're going to load in code enforcement as well, so we can see where areas are more in distress. It just allows us to have a lot more visual comprehension on what's going on. It also has, in this map, has HUD data and census data, so folks that are looking to do grants, they can look at that information and help inform their grant applications. So this is a capability we didn't have a year ago. It seems like he's been around for a long time, but Carl is our GIS analyst, and he finished the map in about 6 months. And it's already honestly changing how we collaborate with our city departments and our county neighborhood partners. And I'll go back to how we would like to sustain that a little later on the presentation. Another map that was created, unbeknownst to us that this would be a requirement with the 21st Century Road to Housing legislation that just passed, but if a community receives CDBG or home funds, they're required to have a map of all vacant residential buildable property available to the public. So without even knowing that was happening, I think it was passed last week, 2 weeks ago, that is a requirement for any community that has those funds in their community.
And we have the map ready to go.
and we have the map ready to go. And that'll be on our website. We're getting ready to roll out our new website. So that'll be on our website. Already talked to a lot of community partners and said we have this, so don't waste time doing it. We'll collaborate any way that you see fit. Next. And then none of this obviously happens in isolation. We don't operate in a silo. We have lots of partners. Collaboration is my word. And with this map, better data is better conversations and stronger relationships and trust. And in the end, trust is what makes things happen. I think through the Pontiac Funders Collaborative, through this map, we all are, in Pontiac specifically, meeting every other week. We trust each other, we know each other, we know what we need to do to move forward. Other partners that we're working closely with, Habitat Oakland, they have been working with a local neighborhood man, Roland Elam, to look at his vision. He wants to build some housing and some commercial down a corridor, so Habitat is helping him figure out how to make that happen. Habitat also works with Southfield, and we're in conversations with them a lot about affordable housing. OLSA, we provide a vacant lot for them once the school is built at OTEC. So students build a house on the campus of the school, and then they physically move. If anybody's had the opportunity to see it, it's pretty cool. They move it to a lot that we have provided. And then Royal Oak Township, in constant conversation with just developers, setting up meetings, having conversations with their city manager on how to move forward. Okay, this brings us to our final budget request. Even though the land bank was formed in 2022, I have been actually operating as kind of a land bank since 2014. So I came over here from the state land bank to start an Oakland County land bank, and we finally got it done in 2022. In that time, I changed how the county treasurer's office sells properties. That was a time when speculation was rampant. Neighborhoods were in decline. You had folks buying from out of town, out of state, out of country, and just holding on to property, not mowing them, not taking care of them. And my job was to curb that speculation and make sure those properties actually get back into the hands of folks that want to do something good in our neighborhoods. And I feel like we've really done a good job doing that across the county. The contracted GIS position has moved our housing and development conversations further than I can imagine in a very short amount of time. And it's given us a way to combine hard data with the on-the-ground stories we hear from residents and partners. So we're out in the neighborhoods, we hear all the stories and we love the stories, but how great is it now that we can look at a map and provide data for grant funding? That's an important step that we haven't had. The contract on his part-time partnership, I guess, is set to phase out in this year. And rather than let this momentum stall, we've been working with the Housing Trust Fund in collaboration that we work with all the time. We talk on a weekly basis to develop a joint position that would be a shared full-time GIS analyst that would let us continue this work not as a one-off project, but a more permanent part of how Oakland County operates with our housing and development. And it's not a request to start something new, it's a hope that we can continue the progress we've made. We're asking to transition from a local funded position to a full-time employee with the county so we can keep driving the conversation forward. Develop this position and the duties with the Housing Trust Fund. Like I said, they come to our meetings, I go to their meetings, we talk about things all the time. How to move housing forward. I think we all know that housing is in a crisis mode right now. So the more we have at the table having these conversations, the better we are. And I think that is it.
Okay, Commissioner Long has a question.
Yes, so then I just want to clarify. So that you're asking for that position, that is not in the budget right now. And then the other position is in the budget.
Correct.
All right, just to clarify for you guys.
And
so that's a request for the, and it's between the land bank and the housing trust fund. It's HTF, right? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And so we've already had the conversation with Leffler. We've had the conversation with Khadijah and Kyle, who are part of the Housing Trust Fund, with who else from? And fiscal, obviously, and fiscal, yes. So and so we have buy-in from everybody because we see the importance of this position. But
okay, so
this
then
came
if that
together a
gets
little
approved,
later.
That will be a budget amendment then. Okay, thank
Yes.
you. Just wanted to point out for my fellow commissioners also. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Long. Commissioner Powell.
So I just wanted to make clear, so it's already, we said upon approval, is that upon approval of commissioners?
Yes.
Because you already submitted it, and Leffler, we in the clear, funding is good. All right, thank you, I just wanted to make sure, because I know you all talked to me, and I know that's a need for you all, so I'm just excited
Well, this is,
that
and this is,
we have the funding to keep it going, thank you.
amen. And then this is something, again, that can make a huge difference throughout the county. And housing, as we all know, is so important right now. And so what's that?
The grant was for
You-
Pontiac. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, so yes, correct. So the original grant was Pontiac specific. So now this is, and Carl has been amazing. Like we said, it took him like a quarter of the time that we thought it was going to take him to build this. And so now we can expand this out around the county and not just Pontiac specific.
So I'm happy to hear that, but I also wanted to say kudos to you. A lot of that property finding of people just sitting on properties and all of that for years was going on in Pontiac. And I'm just happy that we have tackled that and we're giving more opportunities for people to live in our county. Thank you.
I agree, and I can't say enough about Jill and the work that she's been doing here for the last 12 years. Long time. I mean, again, and as you know, any good leader has really great people surrounding them, and so the two people standing next to me, I'd be walking into walls if they weren't here to help me, so they both do an amazing job.
Commissioner Gershenson.
We have tremendous appreciation for the two women on your staff, for sure. Jill, on that 111 Oneida, how many apartments are there? Are they all low income? Are there, what's?
There's 53 units, and they're called missing middle. So it's yeah, 80 to
20 or
120.
70-30 split.
What is it?
Meaning 80% market rate, 20% affordable.
Yeah,
and
Or what's the word? Attainable.
Workforce housing, missing
workforce,
middle.
yeah.
And it's really interesting because the conversation around affordable housing, we always talk about how do we change the vernacular about that, because people have a perception and it's wrong. For instance, 120 AMI is $97,000 for 2 people. It's $121,000 for 4 people. So everyone I work with would qualify to live in this building.
Does that include any vouchers?
I think she has plans for 6.
6? Okay,
Yeah.
because I've heard there aren't any vouchers
I
this year,
know.
but.
Oh, they're not giving extras.
Yeah.
And they cut the
Yeah.
list, the administration. Yeah, none of that is happening no more.
Right,
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Yep.
My Aunt Irene used to live in that building
Oh my
a million
God.
years ago. It is a
Gorgeous.
beautiful building. I'm so happy.
You
it's
guys might be
being
going on
done.
tour soon, right? In a
Yeah.
couple weeks?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's just, I'm so happy to see that come back.
Thanks.
It's such a treasure. It really
Yeah.
is.
And I want to also say this. Thank you, Jill, because you found the money. They came back. I think they needed like, what, 2 million or something? And Jill went and found the collaboration of funds to make it happen, so thank you.
Yeah, that was really quite a project to get the money for and make
That
it
was a
happen.
project.
We
It's-
waited a long time for
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Is there any other commissioners with questions or comments? Commissioner Erickson Galt, followed by Commissioner Taylor.
Yes, so if I understood you correctly, not only is Rafaela done, but we don't have any lingering litigation over that?
That's not entirely
Use the
true.
mic.
There are to give you to give you kind of the quick backstory on that. Again, there were properties that were foreclosed that went to auction that they never got anything on. That was the Raffaele decision. During the same time, communities could exercise their right of first refusal to take those properties at cost, right? What was owed, that's the minimum bid. That's what's still pending. So there is pending, but we do have money. I mean, yes. I don't know if you want to talk more about this. Jody can tell you more.
So there was a federal decision called Hall v. Meisner that basically said they considered it a federal taking. So if a property was taken through right of first refusal by the CVT, the county as the foreclosing governmental unit is the responsible party to make that person whole at fair market value, is what that decision said. The only money the county received
was the minimum bid. So if the fair market value of the property, in Robert's example, is determined to be $100,000, the taxes were $10,000, we only received $10,000 by the CVT, the federal courts have now said we owe them $90,000. So we have been fighting those cases to say, who's determining fair market value? What's the appraisal? We're trying to do appraisals in reverse, 10, 12 years ago appraisals. So there are still multiple cases pending, unfortunately, and we are trying, and our legal team is trying very hard to mitigate that exposure. Now, the land sale funds, which are part of our funds that are in like an assigned fund balance, that's what those funds, we've held on to those funds for anticipation of closing these cases.
And it's significantly lower, though, than what Raffaele was, significantly.
Good. I ask because I know Livingston County's been going through
And-
an issue over statute of limitations.
Talking to your mic.
Well, so we
How
were
old can
the
a
actually,
claim be and come-
we were the only county that settled on Raffaele. They're all dealing with it now because it was deemed retroactive. And so we closed ours, and we were the only county that did that. So what you hear from other counties is what we already went through, and then we had a class settlement.
$41 million.
For us, well, it wasn't that much. It was, we
That's
had
what we set
I think we
aside.
had 38 million set aside.
Yeah.
Right?
It ended up being closer to 27 because our claims rate was not super high.
Yeah, so it came, 27 for those that can't hear at home.
Commissioner Taylor.
Excellent. Your presentation was great. Most of my questions was answered.
Okay.
It's just, I really appreciate everything that you've presented, and I agree that the women here are outstanding. You are too, Robert, but the women,
Thank you. Listen. Yeah.
Roberts come and go.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But
That is true.
given the reduction or the decrease in your internal, our internal services, do you have any concerns at all about technology, cyber security, data breaches, or anything like that?
So, and I'll let Jody speak probably more to this, but, we went live, we had an internal software system, our delinquent tax software system in our office. We had an old one that was pretty archaic, and they were no longer going to service it. So we went live with what's called DevNet, and we went roughly the same time as Workday. So it was a big undertaking. There was a lot of moving parts that were going on within our office, but we have upgraded that system, and that system is housed now. Our old system was housed in IT. This one is an outside entity that runs this, but they do collaborate with our IT department on this. There are no concerns that we have at this point, but again, any technology, anything that's online, obviously there are chances, but the team has been doing everything to mitigate any kind of threat that might present itself.
Okay, so you have no concerns with the reduction with our IT service? Okay, good.
No.
And I have standard questions that I like to ask each department, and that is on your succession planning. I know you've already, based on the presentation here today, you've already identified your key positions. And do you have your succession plan in place?
So that's something that, we work with the business continuity in our office. So that's one thing. But as far as the team, we've been really good about that as well. The VSIP that happened the last round, our investment administrator, we actually brought someone on for 8 or 9 months to train under that person. So it's something that we are cognizant of, something that we are aware of. Again, if someone just turns around and leaves, there's not much we can do, but we recognize the positions that are important. At the end of the day, I'm an elected official, so I'm technically replaceable and could be replaced at any point or any time during a 4-year period. But I don't know if you want to add.
So the other thing I'll say, and we've shared this with some other departments as well, is we use an IT software that's through Microsoft called Planner. And we have been able to use that to identify all of our processes and all of the steps in every process. And it doesn't matter what staff come or go, they know in an annual year, here's the 350 items that have to get done on a weekly basis. So I think that is probably our best succession planning that we've done, and we've done that heavily on the delinquent tax side. We're working on standing that up more on the financial side, along with, audit. Our team also is very involved in the audit with fiscal services. So, that's kind of other items that we'd like to get the planner working on that side of the office. But our delinquent tax side, I am fully confident if I left tomorrow and my chief of delinquent tax left tomorrow, the staff could pick it up based on that planner.
Excellent. Excellent, very glad to hear that. And the next question is on the contracts. We're trying to be more proactive with helping each department with their contracts when they're due, help you to, little reminders that you may or may not need, but it would help us so that we don't have these requests coming to our chairman that he has to sign something within 5 days because the contract is now overdue or ended and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, I would say we don't have that many contracts. So most of our contracts are contractors along with the delinquent tax cycle. So we're very aware of, I think probably 8 contracts that we have and their deadlines, and we stay in very close contact with our contractors. So, we certainly know that purchasing is taking a little bit longer and needs a little bit more heads up so that we can get our RFPs out and done. Jill's RFPs that have come up in regards to construction have been a little bit more urgent, so we have created some urgency there when it's needed to meet grant deadlines, but we are, yes, very, very aware and conscious of our normal operating contracts.
excellent, that's all I have. Thank you, great presentation.
Anybody else? I just want to say that you did answer a couple of questions I had written down before I came, but I really appreciate the creativity with which your department has tackled the questions of blight, poverty, housing, people living on the edge financially. The whole thing about helping people with the $5,000 down payment, you won a national award for that this year. But how many houses was it? 57 or 89 houses that went on the market. You helped people purchase by this activity, because coming up with even just that basic $5,000 to put down on a little house, a lot of people can't do it, and so one at a time. You've been able to help families. The whole idea that you dealt with the blight question in Pontiac by just saying, we're not putting up with this anymore, and get your act together, property owners. A lot of communities, a lot of counties would not have tackled that as a big problem. There's other things, right? And investments and all the other things that we do with money, but you have really focused, in my view, on the people of Oakland County. And to me, that's really special. I don't think all county treasurers do that. I mean, I know the guy down in Wayne County, and he very much thinks the same way you do, but not all treasurers think this way. It's much more finance, tied up tight kind of thinking about things, but you haven't. And by doing that, you've actually elevated the value of homes and properties in this county. And I just really appreciate the creativity of your department. I do.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And
I have one
great
more
work you're
question.
doing. Commissioner Powell.
Are you all open to building more relationships with other banks to offer more products and down payment assistance? Reason I'm asking, because I deal with a couple banks and they have some programs, and I didn't know if y'all secluded to one, like y'all just, or is it good for you all to develop those relationships? And if so, because they got some other perks out there, and I think we need to master that if y'all can partner with more banks.
So a couple points to that. So we try to partner with, I think we're now at about 29 or 30 financial institutions that we invest with. So either bank CDs or money market accounts, things like that. We want to invest in financial institutions that are investing in Oakland County, right? So they have a brick and mortar here. They're doing things. They have their CRA rating is high, right? So we want to invest with them, because again, we have that $1.2 billion that we're investing. So we are trying to invest in those that are investing here in Oakland County. This program, so just kind of how it works, just real quick, is we take a 1% cut. Like, so if interest rates that we got for a CD was 5%, then we take 4%, and that spread is what funds this account. So we are always willing and interested in having those conversations, but at the same time, we also want to make sure that we're not cutting too much, right? Because that's money that goes here to support the county, right, the government here, but in the investment, right, in what we invest, our investment income. So we would absolutely have that conversation. And we actually, this program, again, we keep renewing it every single year because of how many people are benefiting throughout the county. And again, it's, like I said, I think 27 communities throughout the county, from north to south and east to west, have benefited from this.
Got it.
So, but we'd entertain that conversation for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for
All
coming
right.
today and
Thank
for
you
your
all.
fine presentation. We really appreciate it. We're going to take a 10-minute break? Okay. 5-minute break.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Christine, good to
Bathrooms
see
and
you.
snacks.
Okay.
So- our budget hearings for this afternoon, and the next group who will be presenting to us is Public Services. All right, everybody ready? See all my commissioners? All right.
Who would like to
All
drive
right.
the slide, please?
Thank you.
And Ken, I gave him the thumbs up, so I think we're ready for the recording. So, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. That seems odd. It's usually good morning. So, so good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity for us to present on our budget request this afternoon. So, just as a reminder, because public services is a little bit different, there's actually 4 divisions within public services that are not really related at all. So I wanted to take a minute to introduce the entire team. I'm Barb Hankey, I'm the Director of Public Services. We have Olu Martins, the Deputy Director of Public Services. Robert Gatt, the Manager for Animal Shelter and Pet Adoption. Heather Calcaterra, the Manager for Children's Village. Kaz Mayarka, Manager for the Medical Examiner's Office. And Eric Schmidt, the Manager for Pretrial and Justice Services. Now, even though we're 4 separate divisions, what I'm going to be sharing today is for the entire department overview. This is all 4 divisions combined. So the Department of Revenues, what you'll notice right away is the FY27 that has jumped way up by about 25 million. And I'll get to that in a minute. But I think what is important here is that we are currently on track to meet our revenue projections. So if you do a straight line projection, we're just under, on a straight line, what we're projected, just under that 6.66 million. To go back to the jump in the revenues, this is because fiscal, in their wisdom, have decided to move the child care fund revenues from the non-departmental line item, well, from the child care fund, which was just over 14 million, and then transfer in of 10.4 million, I believe, for 25 million. That's why that jump in revenue is there. This will help us to be able to track our child care fund expenditures and revenues and be a little bit more transparent about what's going on with the child care fund, with it all being under one budget. Our expenditures?
Can I just for myself, repeat back what you said? So this, because that was my one question, why the big jump? And it's because the child care fund has been transferred out of
There are 2 different funds. So and Brett, I don't know if you want to take this one.
Yep, absolutely.
I just want to make sure, if it's not clear for me, it's probably not clear for some other folks too.
Absolutely. So historically, what we've done is all of the expenses for child care funds live within the departments and the courts that ran the child care fund. However, the revenues were kept in non-departmental. So this made it very difficult when departments would look at, well, these are my expenses. I'm not ever seeing the offsetting revenue showing what I'm bringing in. For a lot of our departments, they have 50% reimbursement. You do have the new additional 25% for juvenile justice initiatives. And all of that was lost because it was kept over non-departmental. So as part of we've heard the feedback about transparency. We're trying to really engage in that and make sure that we're putting the revenue where the expense lies. So as the expense lies within public services, you will see that public services is going to have that revenue. The same is going to apply when you see both the circuit court and health, their presentations, they will have the exact same situation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brent. So talking about our departmental expenditures, again, we are on track to be within our budgeted expenses. As of the end of May, we were about 32 million. A straight line projection puts us at about 48, so we'll be comfortably within our projected expenses once again this year. What you'll notice on here is that our biggest expenditure is for our personnel. And when you think about it, that should make a lot of sense. We are public services. All 4 of our divisions, of these divisions, work almost 100% in person. There's very few remote work. You know, when someone takes time off, we need to backfill that position. It's not just as though they can continue the work when they get back. The children still need to be cared for. The dogs still need to be fed. People are still arrested, and unfortunately, people still die, and we need to respond to all of those situations, which is why the personnel is the largest expenditure that we have. So when you look at our personnel, these are vacant positions. This is a snapshot in time, and this was done, I think, at the end of May. At the end of July, beginning of July, Children's Village started a new class, and they hired 8 positions. So by the end of July, we still had a vacant position count of 40. The majority of those, 35 of them, are in Children's Village. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we get to the Children's Village portion of the presentation. If you remember last year, we did talk about how we were trying to right-size Children's Village with those extra positions, and we have been working with a contractor for over a year to determine what positions are needed and where there's gaps. Much like the Treasurer's Office, this is a really easy one for us. Our federal grants are almost non-existent. I believe we get about just under $200,000 for the school lunch program for the school at Children's Village. But again, it's basically amounts to nothing in the larger scheme of our budget. So one of the things I'd like to remind you of, and I believe I also showed this slide last year, is when Deputy County Executive Medea Tarek, who's in the audience, came to the county. She sat myself and Leanne Stafford, who is my counterpart in health. She sat us down and we came up with these guiding principles. What are our North Stars that when we do things are always going to guide us? And so these are really our 3 North Stars and guiding principles. We want everything we do to demystify the county. We want people and our constituents to understand what's available to them and how to access it. We want to build capacity. Building capacity just doesn't mean growing bigger departments. It means building skills and knowledge of our employees and the residents that we serve. And we wanted to improve the user experience. You know, I'm sure everyone here, especially since we all work in government, have heard the old joke, you know, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. And generally that gets a laugh. But we really want that to be true. We want everybody who comes to the county to have a good experience and to feel heard and respected. So I'm going to turn it over first to Mr. Gatt, who is going to talk a little bit about the animal shelter. And really talk about how we're living our strategic plan, how we're implementing it, how we live it every day, and how the budget is helping us do that.
Thank you, Barb. First of all, I want to say thank you to the board for your continued support of the Animal Shelter and Pet Adoption Center. I would like to briefly highlight several initiatives we've undertaken over the past year that directly support the county's 5-year strategic goals. First is enhancing operational capacity and workforce sustainability. One of the challenges we identified over the past year was employee overtime. After carefully reviewing where the overtime was occurring, we found that much of it was concentrated at our front desk. So rather than simply accepting that as a cost of doing business, we evaluated our operations and implemented a new public service schedule. Today, the shelter is open to the public Tuesday through Saturday with extended evening hours 2 days each week. Now, this adjustment has significantly reduced overtime costs, helped reduce employee fatigue and burnout, and created a more sustainable work environment. And importantly, despite the schedule change, the Oakland County Animal Shelter remains open more hours each week than most municipal shelters throughout the whole state. Second goal is preserving institutional knowledge. Another important workforce initiative involves succession planning. 2 of our most experienced leaders, Chief Joni Toole, with more than 40 years of experience, and Kennel Supervisor Shelley Gray, with almost 35 years of dedicated service, possess an incredible amount of institutional knowledge that has been built over decades. Working with Deputy Director Olu, we have begun developing comprehensive procedures and operations manuals that document critical processes, policies, and best practices. As I often joke, if either one of those two wins the lottery tomorrow, we don't want 40 years of knowledge walking out the front door with them. This effort will ensure continuity of operations, improve training for future employees, and preserve the experience that has helped make our shelter successful. The third is expanding community engagement and outreach. One initiative that I'm particularly proud of is our Winter Pet Housing Initiative. Working collaboratively with the Oakland County Health Division, Health Central Support, and the Alliance for Housing, we have developed a program to assist Oakland County residents who experience temporary housing insecurity during the winter months. Many emergency housing options cannot accommodate pets, forcing families to make the heartbreaking choice between seeking shelter or keeping their companion animals. Under this initiative, the animal shelter temporarily houses and cares for those pets while their owners are in temporary housing. Once the family is back on their feet, they are reunited with their pets. This program helps keep families together, protects animal welfare, supports public health, and demonstrates how collaboration across county departments can solve real community challenges. The fourth is enhancing animal care programs. Providing the highest quality veterinary care remains one of our highest priorities. I am pleased that the administration has approved our request for funding to purchase an ultrasound machine for our veterinary office, and that request is included in the budget currently before you. This equipment will allow our veterinary team to obtain safe, real-time, non-invasive images of internal organs and soft tissues. It will assist in diagnosing illnesses, identifying internal bleeding or fluid accumulation, and guiding needle biopsies with greater precision, often eliminating the need for exploratory surgery. This investment represents another step forward in providing modern, high-quality medical care for the thousands of animals entrusted to Oakland County each year. Commissioners, these initiatives reflect our commitment to continuous improvement, responsible stewardship of taxpayer resources, employee sustainability, community collaboration, and exceptional animal care. I am proud of the outstanding work our staff performs every day, and I appreciate your continued support as we work together to advance the county's strategic goals.
Thank you, Bob. And one of the things I should have pointed out is on each of the slides, the strategic planning slides that were put together by Henry Outlaw, you'll see that there's a phase for each of the divisions. And I'm very proud to say that 3 of the 4 divisions are in phase 4. And the 4th is well on its way to getting up there. So next I would like to bring up Heather Calcaterra to talk about Children's Village.
Good afternoon, everybody. So we've been working really hard on our goals, really trying to bring our strategic plan to life. So I'm going to just do a kind of a quick high-level overview of a couple of our initiatives. We have a lot going on at the village, and it'd be impossible to include everything. But I think it's important to talk about first our Bringing the Better campaign. It was important to us that we really kind of strengthen our identity in the community, but not just the community. It's important that our kids, our residents, our families, and our coworkers, our employees really understand the importance and the significance of the work that we do. If you've ever heard me talk or train, You've heard me say the phrase, we work in a place where children live, and we don't take that for granted. And so by having the phrase and the rebranding, bringing the better, we really hope to have that resonate with everybody and that sees the importance of the work that we do. We've also been working with AECOM to implement staffing recommendations, really taking a look at organizational change management from the top down, reviewing everything from job descriptions, staffing models, communications audits, and even looking at recommendations on trauma-responsive practices within the village. We've been working with our union, we're proud to say, to look at some scheduling options that may reduce overtime and also create pathways for advancement within Children's Village. And we've begun to host quarterly juvenile justice forums to build relationships and collaborations with our community partners. And not just our community partners, but with our kids and our families. It's important that everybody understands the services that are available and also how to access them. Part of that has included the development of a countywide juvenile justice directory that will be rolled out hopefully in the very, very near future. We've created our own Children's Village leadership team, and we've begun hosting quarterly engagement events. And these events are hosted by our leadership team, but they are developed by our employees for our employees. And these are just a few of the things that we've been doing every day to try to bring our strategic plan to life.
Thank you, Heather. And now we're going to move along to Kaz in the medical examiner's office.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Again, as Heather did, I'm going to highlight a couple of our goals that we've been talking about and we've been working through at the office as a team. Most importantly to us is improving our timeliness. It's a challenge within the office because the way the systems work and getting all the data and getting all that information in the system into it, back out of it for the doctors to immediately see that. And not only the doctors, law enforcement, and everybody else, so they can have that information readily available. And the second one I'll talk about is modernizing those technology. So the biggest thing that we are facing within the office is when do we have to replace a doctor? It's very challenging. There's a national shortage of forensic pathologists. And it's very competitive and trying to figure out how we were going to do that. So we're working closely with Dr. Dragovic to try to come up with a plan of how we can do that. So one of the things that we've been doing is we've been coordinating with the hospitals and other educational facilities to bring in resident doctors to allow them to work closely with us for a month or so to see what it's like to be a forensic pathologist. That is paying some dividends. I just had somebody reach out to me that was doing that, and they really want to come work for us, but they're about 2 years away, and right now we don't have any open positions. So continuing to do that is very helpful for us. The second thing we're doing, we're partnering with educational facilities like Oakland University. We now bring in forensic nursing students. They're with us in the office. They're learning the forensic sides of what we do. What we're gaining from that is their experience, what they see in the field, is allowing them to treat their patients better. So while they have patients, we don't consider our people patients, unfortunately. We are getting a lot of movement out of that. We continue to collaborate with the health department on our overdose fatality review teams and our suicide fatality review teams, along with our child death reviews. What we're learning, and there's a lot of good recommendations out there, through that information, by sharing the data and doing all of that, what we've learned is there's things that we can do better, not only as an individual, but also as a county to try to help those people that are struggling out there. And the only other thing I would like to say on that is modernizing our technology is critical for us to be able to continue to get that data when we have it readily available. So those are some of the things we're working on, our goals. And as Barb said, we're getting there, so we're currently working on those. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaz. And last but not least, Eric Schmidt from Pretrial Justice Services.
Hello, and Barb, and thank you, everyone. It's good to see you all this afternoon. If we can stay on this slide for just a moment, I'd like to just point out that I'm at the 5th phase of KPI analysis, which is pretty exciting. So, yeah, I know, just a little bit right there. But no, I'm uniquely positioned because of some different funding that we receive that requires KPIs and KPI analysis. Barb and I have done performance measures when she was the manager prior to me for decades. I mean, literally a long time. So when the county moved to this performance management system, we naturally were kind of ready to run with it. So it's helped our organization. But again, our mission is to reduce recidivism, right, by providing a continuum of services that adhere to evidence-based principles, to uphold pretrial justice through legal and evidence-based practices, and to achieve harm reduction. And all of that is really, really tied to one of the key goals and measures for the county executive, which is public safety and fairness in the criminal justice system. So I'd just like to remind people of that, that under the county executive, we really are the only organization that really works at that pillar. So the work that we do, well, obviously I'm biased to it, but I feel very important that we are doing that work. And again, our 5-year strategic goals, we've been able to work with the performance management team, as I already alluded to, with our KPIs and other things. And actually, we're intending to build an API between our data management system and the system that the Performance Management Office uses in Visio. And we're very hopeful that very soon we'll have dashboards that'll track real-time performance. So some exciting things that we're working on and that we'll continue to work on into FY27. But as we specifically go to some of the goals in our 5-year plan, I just want to highlight a few of them. So one was a validation project. We use a pretrial outcome assessment tool, and it had been a long time coming for it to be validated. And we were finally able to complete that validation project to see if the tool is indeed valid, predictive, and equitable. And I'm happy to report that it lands in the proper categories for all 3 of those measures. We'll have the report very soon, so we're excited to get the report from the contracted entity. Also, a big part of the work that we do is to work with the judiciary across all of the district courts as well as the circuit court to align bail decisions with evidence-based pretrial practices. So one small example of that, and this really is a small thing, but over the last few years, we've been able to invite and fund stakeholders from across the criminal justice system to go to the National Association of Pretrial Services Agencies Conference. I'm sure all of you have heard of that entity. Probably not. But it sets the standards for pretrial agencies and criminal justice systems really nationwide. So going to that conference allows judicial officers or other criminal justice stakeholders to understand the way the bail and the pretrial phase of a case should function. So it's really helped with collaboration in this county. We're also continuing to work with our Oakland County Pretrial Work Group. Again, that is made up of all the stakeholders across the criminal justice system. And we're lifting up best practices and sharing with not just the courts here in Oakland, but we intend to share our best practice recommendations across the state. We've come up with a smaller committee within that team to do sequential bail review. So we're literally looking through every single case of people that are held in the Oakland County Jail on low bonds, or we'll call them lower level charges, where the only thing holding them in custody is a small bond amount. And we work as a committee and a team to make recommendations to move that case either along faster or to get some type of relief. We also built a project or another API with the CLEMIS system, which is the law enforcement system, and our data management system, so that we're aware timely when people have a contact with a first responder or a criminal justice agency, so that we can not report any new criminal activity, which of course we do that as well, but there are way more contacts for behavioral health related issues, and we are then able to apply supportive services to them timely. Not weeks or months later or only when they self-report, but we get this daily, on time, and we're able to react and support those individuals to both make a healthier community, a safer community, which is what everyone wants. Again, we continue to engage our clients to maximize appearance rates. That's a key part of our pretrial supervision team. And so we do that through court reminders. We also do things in-house to provide supportive services, as well as partner with the health department in Oakland Connects, as well as Oakland 80 to help them move forward with their lives. And we have great community partners like the Oakland Community Health Network, as well as Center for Employment Opportunities, Sacred Heart, the list goes on and on and on. And again, almost lastly, but very importantly, we foster organizational excellence and inclusion by hosting division-wide trainings, wellness events. We work on implicit bias, trauma-informed care, motivational interviewing, and all kinds of very important program curriculum. So again, these are just some of the highlights that we're taking into FY27. We have many other things in our 5-year strategic plan, but we'll be addressing those in 28 and 29. And we're very excited about our support from all of you. Thank you.
And yeah, with that, we'll open it for questions.
Okay, thank you. It's a fact-packed presentation with 4 very diverse groups, so it was good. Okay, I'll open the floor up for questions. Commissioner Gershenson.
Thank you. You're not kidding. You've got a great department. Got
Thank
some
you.
very exciting things going on. I have a question specifically for you. So I was lucky enough to tour Montgomery County Jail,
Alabama.
State of the art.
Yep.
Facility in Maryland, I believe.
Yeah.
Right, Montgomery County?
I think that's
Right outside of
Maybe there's-
Washington. And they did something I was so blown away by. But they took individual cases and they had therapists, they had all different kinds of experts looking at each individual case. Like when you said you move the cases along, are our cases, are our prisoners, or are they subject to that kind of a review where you look at all different aspects of their personality and try to help them not to recidivize?
Right, so I'll try to answer your question succinctly, which I'm not very good at. Yeah, it depends. So we used to be called Community Corrections. We're now called Pretrial and Justice Services. The key part of the first title is community, right? So we're working with people in the community to keep them out of jails or prisons. So I talked a lot about our pretrial initiatives, but we have a post-adjudication program as well that is doing a lot of the work that you're kind of referencing, but in the community, right? We're doing case management, we're doing a lot of assessments, we're looking at all kinds of things. We do group work with them and one-on-one interactions. We're then referring them out if they have additional higher needs, right? They might need inpatient substance use disorder treatment, they might need mental health, and we're working with our PIHP and other people to do that. We also fund jail programming here through PJS. We fund a cognitive program and a reentry program. It's not doing all the things that you're talking about, but other programs within the jail are doing a lot of the things that you're referencing. Those are handled through inmate services through the sheriff's office and or working with OCHN that provides a lot of those services contracted within the jail.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just wasn't sure how everything broke
Right,
down.
right.
Appreciate that.
Any other commissioner questions? Commissioner Powell.
I did come in a little late, and you probably addressed this, but the question in regards to the medical examiner's revenue decrease due to expiration of Macomb County contract for autopsies, is that going to ricochet the budget there and create any pressures, or how are y'all handling that?
So the revenue line item for next year, it has been adjusted to reflect that the Macomb contract will no longer be receiving revenues from that. I will say we also, we have a tremendous team of doctors, and when they heard that Macomb was in trouble, they just said, we'll do it. We'll just absorb the work. And so they absorbed the work, they worked extra, they had extra cases. And so it's not that we have additional capacity, they just really stepped up.
Is that gonna be the same view moving forward? They only can step up for so long.
Well, they're done. The Macomb County contract
okay.
ended almost a year ago.
Oh, okay.
And that's, yes, we made sure we sunsetted it, but it was about 8 months that they did, they did a lot of work. But, you know, Dr. Dracovic is like, we are not gonna let a sister county fail. That's just not going to happen.
Okay, and then, Children's Village costs. Okay, and one more question. Children's Village costs are driven by court order placement, state reimbursement rules, and local service capacity. What legal or operational constraints limits the county's ability to shift more youth toward community-based treatment?
So, placements at Children's Village, or the youth at Children's Village, are placed there by the court. Children's Village has no authority to release those children into the community. That can only be done through court order.
Okay.
So while we're working with a lot of community partners and bringing community partners into the village, we cannot release the youth into the community. That would be on a court order when they would be potentially on probation or something else under the court.
Okay. Okay, I think that was it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Long, do you have anything? Oh, okay. I just have a clarification to something Mr. Gatz said, which was about the ultrasound and animal control. So that is in the current budget, that's.
Correct. That is built into the.
And the administration is fine with that being in the budget.
Yes, I don't know if they're happy, but they're fine with it. They're fine.
Yeah, we asked and Leffler, you know why we asked?
It's not gonna require a budget amendment. It's
No,
already in.
no, it's already in.
That's my question. Okay. I don't have any other questions, I don't think. The medical examiner piece of it is tricky because you need really highly skilled folks and you don't know how long it's gonna take for some things. And I'm a little nervous about the statement that you made about, trying to get, where is it? Diving into the 90-day case cycle to identify bottlenecks and reduce turnaround time. That says you've still got work to do.
We do.
Okay.
We do.
I'm glad you admitted it. Well, thank you very much for coming in. It's very interesting to hear all that you do and how wide-ranging everything is. And you have some really difficult departments in terms of they're complicated.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
So
I appreciate that.
Thank you for the work that you all do.
Thank you, team.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. See you next year.
Thank you.
Okay, so that wraps up our review of public services. Next up, we have the sheriff's office, and I don't see them yet. They're here. Oh, they're assembling. Okay, well, while they're doing that, I'm gonna go get a bottle of water. I'll be right back.
From where? Houston, how are you?
I'm so good. Good to see you.
Been a while.
Okay. I'm ready when y'all ready.
Okay.
Yeah, it shows. Chris. So through that whole phase where you're hot all the time and then you're cold all the time. All right, we have all of our commissioners that are here. And
I'll help you catch up. I'll help you catch up.
We're going to start our last hearing of today. We have Sheriff Bouchard and his team. So Sheriff, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, the biggest
I feel like
budget,
I'm
that's
standing
right.
between you and dinner, so, and I know you're running behind, so I will be brief. And I
tell
will,
us who your
take any
team
questions,
is.
obviously, from my right and your right, but your left, Major Perry, and then our budget wizard, Gaia. Everybody knows Gaia and loves Gaia. And then the Undersheriff Willis, and then Major.
Me too.
We all love you too.
Well, we try to be truthful here.
Jury's out.
And then Major Yiser. They run our two different divisions, our corrections and our law enforcement side of the house, and then Gaia does all of our budgeting stuff. So first thing I would like to say is thanks to the administration, to the CFO Leffler, and to the commission, for their support. We've been chasing some long-term issues and needs for quite some time, going way, way back into Brooks's time for training and for storage buildings. And our current storage building is an abandoned car dealership that has had mold, that has floods, that has had fires, that has had burglaries, that has carbon monoxide poisoning. And so obviously that building is not suitable for continued inhabitation. And so having the ability to have a building for that purpose where our people, our men and women work every day is really important, not only for the people, but also for the equipment and the kinds of things that we do in that building. And then secondarily, training has been something that I have been chasing, a state-of-the-art training facility for decades. We have been operating out of an abandoned middle school. So when you're in the top 15 largest sheriff's offices in America, having dedicated and purposeful space is really important, because the way you get better police outcomes is better hiring and better training. and training is absolutely essential. And not the static training that was there when I started, where you just don't do a lot, and what you do is in a lane, and you have to have dynamic training, things you might face in the real world, like how do you respond if you have to go into an active shooter in a school, or a business, or a house of worship. Sadly, we've had all of those things here. And when we started seeking some of this training, we hadn't had any of those. But we try to look around the corner in our business and see what threats are out there, how we need to evolve and be better prepared to face and address those. And we have grown that relationship with all of our police and fire partners. I started OAKTAC after the attack in Mumbai that would allow us to begin training together for large-scale events, hoping and praying it would never happen, but tragically it has happened multiple times now. And so that continued training in an environment where they're stressed, they're forced to make split-second decisions and work together is very much like a football team. You don't just go out on Sunday and play. You practice all week based on what you might face on the field on Sunday, and you make mistakes. And then you say, run it again. Let's try to get that better. Let's try to adapt more. And that's what we do. We try to find ways to anticipate the threats to our community and how we can get in front of them and protect them. And I think that the attack at Temple Israel showed that training and that participation and that community partnership, because the Temple had training on active shooters. They had a great security team, many whom that we know that are retired police officers. 2 days before the attack, I had communicated with the head of security at the Temple and told them some of the intelligence and some of the concerns I was seeing around the world. Nothing specific to there, but we're in communication, staying communicative, staying alert, staying prepared. And so on that day, when you had an individual seeking to kill as many people as he could with 104 kids, innocent kids in that building, nobody died that day other than the perpetrator. And so that's the best possible outcome of a terrible day, where you have somebody that wants to kill people and they're unsuccessful. So those are the kinds of things that we look to think about, prepare for. And again, with CFO Loeffler, the administration, and the board, we think we have a path to get those kind of purposeful buildings that will allow us to continue to adapt and evolve and be better prepared in the future to face whatever threats we have. So the other thing I'd like to mention is that, you know, us, like all of the county, I'm sure you get a lot of requests for a lot of things from every department. As an elected countywide, I'm sure you're getting other countywides wanting things, and you have to balance a limited budget with a lot of needs, right? And so as a result, the things that don't get into our budget, and we're very grateful for what we get, but sometimes there's things we would also like, and so we seek out grants, federal, state, and we have a charity that supports some of those efforts. And it's very common in the public sector. In fact, schools and law enforcement agencies all across the country have those kinds of charity support. And I just want to briefly touch on, because I heard 3 members questioning that charity and that kind of support, saying, well, just ask for it and you shouldn't have this charity, was the implication. And the fact of the matter is we have asked for things, and we haven't got it, and we're not complaining about it because we know you're balancing a lot. But sometimes if we can get it through a charitable donation, a company or someone that says, hey, we want to help, what kind of equipment would be helpful? So after the Temple, we were seeking Scott Air Packs because we sent 63 police officers to the hospital with smoke inhalation. So to be better prepared in the future, we have sought and received Scott Air Packs from different sources, either federal or elsewhere, that we didn't have to come to the county and say, hey, can we get a supplemental? So those things sometimes not only are important, but they can be life-saving. And the equipment we've received through that charity has been literally life-saving. And those, again, those kinds of charities, the one commissioner that talks about it the most, his public schools have 2 such charities to support his school. And the other one that talked about it, his public schools has a big charity as well. So it's very common to augment governmental appropriations with people that care about the mission. And it's all filed, it's all above board, it's approved by the IRS, and there's nobody hiding it. So I find it a little sad and disingenuous that it's attacked when all it is an attempt to try to help better protect the community, and people that want to help have helped. In this budget, we tried to be as lean as possible because, again, we know there's a lot of competing demands. So we didn't ask for a lot of positions because positions are the biggest part of our budget. About 76% of our budget's personnel. So that's the lion's share. So, and that's an ongoing cost. So the positions that we did ask for, we have a very lean supervisor to line ratio compared to other agencies. Very, very lean if you look at us compared to other similar sized agencies. So we appreciate what, again, the kinds of things we were able to get through and work together. And in the, I guess, expedience of time, I'd be happy to answer questions as it relates to our budget.
Okay, I'll open it to Commissioner Powell.
Okay, so I have been in contact with your staff in regards to this question, and the crisis unit is a very important unit, especially to District 10.
Which?
Your crisis unit, the
crisis intervention, yes.
Okay. And I know that they've been going after grants, they've been trying to find funding, we've been falling short. So my question to you is, I think they asked us for, what is it, 275? Was it 275, Marcia? Okay, it's 275. Is that something that you all can try to find in your budget? And it's just a question now, because we're trying to find it too, and we're kind of slim, but that is something that I am begging your department, please, because now too, we have an influx of homelessness coming back to Pontiac, and I just found out somewhere in Royal Oak, that unit is working across the county. And I know, I just want us to really, really work hard to find funding. Leffler, you hear me, Alicia, I know you just hear me. But this is a unit that is changing lives. It's reducing the amount of people we have to put in jail, and it's bringing the resources to them, to help them, to get these homeless people some assistance, or people just in a bad situation. Because I don't know if all of them just homeless by being forced homeless or chosen to be homeless. But I just wanted to stress that. I wanted to ask where you at mentally about that. And we got to work together, though, because that is something that I can't fathom, especially right now. We having all these homelessness talks. I don't know. I know Willis is aware of some of the discussions. I don't know if y'all been at the meetings last week, but no. That is a unit, I've seen it with my own eyes, my colleagues. I'm just telling y'all, this is a unit that is really helping us, and it's helping our officers. They don't have to deal with that. They already got to deal with a lot of other stuff. So if we can keep that going, that is one of my begs here. So I just wanted to hear from you, Sheriff, because I heard from your staff, but I'd love to hear from your opinion about this and how we tackle this together.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're in agreement. It's been a great program, but as you know, the funding comes to an end on September 30th from the county. The county has a policy that grant funding that ends, then the position's end. So that's the county's policy, not ours. We're seeking grants, charity, whatever we can. That's what I said. We constantly look for funding for things that the funding may not be there. So we have a DOJ grant application pending. We're chasing money wherever we can. We do that with a lot of things for the crisis team, with the mobile command, for example. Haley Stevens put in a request to fund that. So we're constantly looking for funds to fill spots that don't get appropriated. But ultimately, we don't have bodies sitting around, though. As I said, we run very lean. So we don't have someone will go, okay, we'll just take that person and put them there, because then whatever they were doing there now doesn't get done.
Okay, and can you explain to me how you look at your positions? Like, I'm on the educational of learning how the county and with our fiscal team, but just in your department, because we may see it's open, but them not available to kind of
move people, if that's, I don't know how the department decides, if you could move one position, I don't know, create a position within what you already have, or,
We
just,
don't-
how does that work? You
Yeah,
know
we
what I'm
don't have
asking.
anybody that's currently not tasked with specific duties. So
Got it,
when we
okay.
started Human Trafficking Task Force, we actually pulled a special investigation detective and temporarily assigned them to lead it until you made the appropriation.
Got it,
Then that position became its own standalone, and the unfulfilled work that was sitting here on his desk because he was over here, then now we have a position for each.
Got it.
But if we take somebody from a current job, that current job isn't getting done. So that's the biggest challenge for us. We don't have, this is 3 FTEs, we don't have 3 people that are just going, you know, put me in, they're not in the bullpen. We don't have those kinds of things. So if we were to try to move somebody to that, whatever they were doing ceases. And we've had this happen in the past. We used to have a child abuse investigator, probably going back pre-2006-ish, I think. I think it was Sergeant Jansen at the time before he became lieutenant and then retired, so it's been a minute. But he was super effective and he was all over the county. The grant came to an end and that position ended.
Okay, and my last question is, what are the sheriff's most difficult recruitment, training, and retention pressures? And how do those pressures affect overtime, employee burnout, and service levels in the jail, dispatch patrol, and contracted services?
Yeah, so we're all in the law enforcement space facing recruiting challenges. And, you know, back when I first came into law enforcement, there'd be 500-600 people apply for one position. Now we have maybe 30 positions and we may get 50 permissible applicants, meaning they pass the background and then you go even deeper and then that whittles down even more. So we have a lot less people looking at this as a career for a lot of reasons. We don't have pensions. We don't have a lot of the lifetime healthcare and pensions that brought people to this career many years ago. And so they look at it and go, well, maybe I'll just go into the private sector. And like, for example, there's a security company now that pays substantially more for PT&Es than we can pay. So we're now starting to struggle having PT&Es for the courts and elsewhere because these private companies are paying way more than we do. And so, you know, we're in a competitive world for qualified people that are willing to do the job. I think, you know, we compete because I think people see the training level and the support from the community and the agency, and as a result, we compete pretty well, but it's constant, you know. We had 4 leave us in almost a week and a half at one point to go to another agency because they had pensions. We got 3 of them back right away because they were like, there's so many more opportunities here. I'd rather have the opportunities and do the job I love in an agency that has so many diverse opportunities. And they came from the Pontiac substation. They went back to them and they were like, we want to be back in Pontiac. So it's a constant juggle. But I think we were at like 40 current openings on the road and in dispatch. Plus, on top of that, another probably 30 that are in training, so maybe 70 in terms of actually being plugged in and being able to do the job on their own, which, you know, has been a moving mark.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Commissioner Gershenson.
Welcome, Sheriff, and your team. We work really well together, and just on a personal note, I want to thank you so much for everything you did during the Temple Israel attack. It was unbelievable how your equipment and how your team got all those kids out across to Shenandoah Country Club, which really stepped up for our community. So I hope you know how grateful we are for everything you did, everything your team did, and really appreciate you letting me know what was coming down the pike. It really helped the anxiety in the community to know that we were on that. On another note, many of the departments that we've talked to mentioned this crisis unit, how incredible it is, how valuable it is, how many deaths and lives they've saved. So I'm hearing from you for the first time, because we were really working to try to get that money. Are you saying that that will sunset and that those positions go away whether or not we come up with money or not?
Well, if you come up with the money, then we still have the positions, but we don't have the money in our budget to fund those positions unless this DOJ grant
So
is approved.
if we come up with the money, then the sunset's not relevant.
Correct.
And the sunset is what time, what day?
September 30th, fiscal year.
Well, if we're
The
gonna come
fiscal
up with the
year,
money, it's gonna
the
be
end of
during
this
the
fiscal
budget.
year is the last date that grant's funded.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a priority for us. And then for someone like me that's been on the board for a long time with Commissioner Long, and we know how important the training center has been for you, so to have come up with this idea is very exciting for us all.
Thank you.
Right, Marcia, I think we talked about it almost the whole time you've been elected.
Commissioner Erickson Dahl.
So I'm looking at, on your list, on your presentation, you have like approved budget requests and denied or pending budget requests. I don't see, unless I'm not understanding how it's phrased, the crisis intervention unit that you were just talking about on the, was this something that you requested and was denied?
That was grant funded, so it comes to an end. There were a number of positions that we requested that we didn't get.
Okay.
Again, we know there's a lot of competing demands, and we appreciate everything we did get, so.
Okay, all right, I just want to be clear that it wasn't something, this is currently being funded by a grant that ends September 30th.
Correct.
And you did or did not ask for it in the new budget?
No, this is just an update for you to let you know that there's a pending grant application. So really, we
Oh,
can't do
there is a
anything
pending
until-
grant
Yes,
application.
from
Got
the-
it.
Yes, so
Got
it's
it.
outstanding right now. We brought
I see
the
it.
grant to the board. And then once we find out whether we get that funded or not, then we'll know.
When will we know that?
Because we did fund it last year.
Right. Whatever
So,
they want to tell us.
I found the slide that
Yeah,
talks
so
about
that's,
it,
yeah,
so.
that was just an
good.
update at the end because obviously we knew that you were all going to want
So
to know.
just for clarification, we did fund it last year.
So, to give the insight,
Can you give us the insight how we got here? I remember y'all had the grant, it covered it, then they clawed back some. We had to fill that while y'all go after another grant. Failing on the grant. Now y'all came back 6 months. Y'all came 6 months, but we did it through a year, right?
So you covered this fiscal year because we hadn't been able to get any grants to cover it. So you did step up and cover this year, but that comes to an end this year.
Right, so they started off with a grant. Then we have all these grant issues, but then we got a phenomenal unit that is doing great things, and now we gotta go find money to keep them going. That's where we at.
Putting it in the budget before the grant funding, then it becomes supplanting because you already have it funded.
Yep, no,
That's why we did the 6-month thing, that we funded part of it in case there was a grant opportunity. When that didn't come through, then we continued to the end of this fiscal year and then applied when the solicitation came out, and now we're waiting for.
And I told the unit I would champion trying to fight this fight to get them through the finish line because they do a lot of work in my community, but I know they have been in majority of all communities helping all types of people, okay, with crisis.
Right now, it's a timing issue.
Yep, it's just a timing issue.
Would you be willing to add that to the budget base with the stipulation that you're waiting for the grant? If not grant funded, can this position exist? Can we approve that position?
Yes, but that's a discussion that we can have. That's why we wanted to put a slide in here to let you know that it's in jeopardy.
Mhm.
If the Department of Justice funding does not come through, then the
Right.
program's in jeopardy.
Right, as long as it's in there with that understanding at the time that we're approving the budget, would that satisfy the request that you're making? I think it would, because the position would be saved. We're saying if we don't get the grant, here's the position, but they have to be willing to put it in there.
Right, but in order for them to even feel comfortable to do that, don't we gotta earmark where the money at?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we gotta go
Absolutely.
find it, right?
It will be, we'll have that discussion. Absolutely.
Leffler? Okay, got it. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not trying to let them do no extra work and then we don't go find the money and then they got, but, okay, got you. All right, Lenny's telling me, okay, got you. Great.
So I had another question, on your, one of your slides on personnel. It shows a small increase from 26 to 27, but then I was looking at the categorical, or not the categorical, page 62 of the big budget book. It's showing like 62 additional positions from 26 to 20, to the adopted in 26 versus what's recommended for 27.
Yeah, some of those are moved from overtime. You can explain it more.
We have a resolution.
Yeah, can you use the microphone?
It's one of these, right hand, left hand, right pocket, left.
No, I'm just trying to understand what's going on.
Yeah, so we brought a resolution to you earlier this year about a pilot program. So if you recall those 30 additional positions that will sunset on September of 27.
Yes.
That was to help with our recruiting and retention. So we can overfill. If we get to the point that we're at full employment, then we can get those folks in training. Right now, out of those 30 positions, we have about 15 of them filled. We're using those for deputies, deputy recruits, corrections deputies, and dispatch. So anytime that we can overfill, we can get people trained up and hopefully have a bench. We're not quite there yet, but our goal was to reduce forced overtime with those additional positions. The other part of that resolution was an outstanding item that we've had since the implementation of the Workday financial system, where at that point in time, we had part-time, 30-ish part-time non-eligible positions that remained under county general funding in emergency salaries, and then we moved those to our budget. So that roughly makes up the 60. And then we did get 3 additional positions with this budget request. So between that resolution and those 3 positions is where the difference came.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
What she said.
Anything else, Commissioner? Erickson Golf? Anything else? Okay. Commissioner Taylor?
Yeah, thank you. I just have a couple of things. Some of my questions have already been answered, so thank you in advance. And I just wanted to add, other than electeds, have you identified your key positions? And what is your succession planning for those positions? Other than electeds, because you don't control that, I understand.
Yeah, well, there's only one elected, and that's me, so I don't control that.
Well,
the
I
people
was
do.
putting you out of,
But, yeah, when we, periodically, we ask our different commanders and levels, if you decide to retire, or God forbid something happens at work, or you get hit by a bus, or whatever, you hit the lottery, what's your thoughts, what's your succession plan? We've done that periodically and get recommendations from people in those positions, and we're constantly looking at that. We're also a very large agency, so we have a lot of retirements. So our succession plan is kind of a moving ball. So we constantly are training up the next layer. Like, we've got a lieutenant who's one of our really great detectives from the Pontiac substation. He's currently at the FBI National Academy. So we're constantly training up the next level. So if and when, people retire at the senior command level, there's already somebody that's trained. And the beauty about our agency is we have amazing women and men that are dedicated and trained and qualified. So the toughest thing is picking sometimes. It's kind of like sitting at the dinner table and picking one of your 3 kids that's now going to take over the company. You got three kids that are, amazing, and you could pick any of the 3 and it would go well, but you have to pick one. So that's sometimes one of the toughest things, is we have a lot of great choices, not a lack of choices. So that's a blessing,
yes.
but it's also makes it difficult. So I guess we're constantly elevating, training, and encouraging the next tier to get ready for more responsibilities and capabilities. And this is the next level that came up in the last year and a half.
That's wonderful. That's good. to have such wonderful people, because the other thing that you didn't mention is that outside agencies are always trying to take good
100%,
people all the
yeah.
time, so that's
How long have you
why.
been a major? So 4 years for Major Perry, 1 year for Major Yai, year and a half. Year and a half. Major Ewing, 2 years-ish. So our, you know, all the majors are under 5 years in their position, the undersheriff under 5 years. So it's a constantly churning process that we're constantly trying to prepare the next group, the next generation.
The other thing that is of interest right now for me is your contracts. And I know I have asked a lot of questions, but I'm specifically asking now about the jail, because they have so many. You have medical contracts, you have food contracts, there's so many different things. What steps are you doing to take control, if that's possible, of some of the costs and how to do investment improvements or reduction or savings, any of those kinds of things?
Yeah, so I'm sorry to put my back to all you, but this one gave out. So the shortest answer is that we constantly look for ways to cut costs and be more efficient. Currently, our allocations for medical and food in the jail are less than what it was costing us when we did it in-house.
Oh, okay.
So we put those out to competitive bid to the private sector, and we try to get the best bang for our buck that also delivers quality service. That's a big part of it. We want to make sure that whatever we're bidding is a quality product for the taxpayers or the recipients of those services. So in the jail, it's really important we have a medical team that partners with us and knows how to deal with that environment and keep people that may come in with chronic illness in a state of healthiness to the extent, you know, they can in that facility. You know, in terms of long-term care, because sometimes they come in and out and they're not getting care on the outside. And so having a partner in there is super important on the medical side during COVID. The restrictions where, you know, you have a large number of people in close proximity. I mean, that partnership was super key. And then the same on the food side. You know, if you look at challenges in correctional facilities across the country when they've had riots, lots of times it's related to food. So, you know, if you have, we're not necessarily looking for, you know, the Capitol Grill, but we're looking for everything that meets the national nutrient guidelines and gets them the food to stay healthy and sustained and delivered in a cost-effective way.
And the last question that I have is regarding this big elephant that's in the room, which is our flock cameras. Could we just ask?
Correct that. We don't have flock cameras.
Okay, I
Yes,
just want.
remember, we gotta be very clear, because you know they talking about we didn't signed off on that grant.
No, we have not. I just want to get that clarified, though. The word is the elephant, the word.
Drones, just say drone.
Drones.
We were trying
Just
to
clarify, we do not have
Thank you.
any flock, anything.
Nothing. else.
Nothing.
We're just asking a question.
Just the question. I just want that clarified and put on the record,
Yes, thank you.
that we do not. So whoever's watching, whoever's listening, whoever's heard this, whoever, you know, has spoken with our sheriff's department prior, they've heard the same thing.
Yep.
But they also want to hear it from our budgeting review process, that we do not. And I think the best person to deliver that is our sheriff.
Well, we do have flock cameras and auto theft. We have a limited number of
Okay.
flock cameras that are very specific to the mission. Flock cameras around the county are usually done in communities, by communities. But I think there needs to be a deeper discussion about flock cameras and, you know, the kind of guardrails that we have in place on the data, who has access to it, the data retention, when it's utilized. Because for us, it's another police resource that comes under the same auditing and scrutiny all of our other stuff does. So, you know, people will call me and say, hey, can you run, you know, this or that, or can you run my daughter's driving? No, I can't. We do not allow access to any police database, whether it's a FLOC or LEAN or NCIC or criminal history, without a specific police purpose that is entered. What is the case? Why are you doing it? And any misuse of any police database is subject to discipline up to and including termination and potentially criminal penalties. And that is the discussion a lot of people don't understand. And we're fine with that because it's just one of the other tools that we have, and it has to be used in a way that is in line with your privacy and your protection. We actually have a privacy officer that focuses on protecting people's privacy and their Fourth Amendment rights.
Excellent. And lastly, I didn't hear anything about the Human Trafficking Prevention Unit, and it is excellent. You are doing an outstanding job, that whole team, and I see that we have a request for a position for that. Absolutely necessary. In working with, or we're a team, so working with the Board of Commissioners, the Prosecutor's Office, the Sheriff's Office, and the local communities, you have just, excelled not only in arrests, but also in convictions. And the word is getting out, Oakland County is not the place to come.
Yes.
Not for trafficking. And I just want to highlight that because I didn't hear that, and I apologize if you did bring that up. It's an excellent unit. I'm happy to hear and see and be a part of all the results that you're having on that.
I appreciate that. And we do have a great partnership. We just recently did a sexploitation case with Southfield, where a commerceman had been grooming and sexually abusing a child.
Yes.
And so they have an abundance, sadly and tragically, of work. And we appreciate the addition of that position. We do need a car for that position. That didn't get included somehow. So obviously the detective doesn't stay in the building. He has to go out and chase these criminals. But we appreciate that position and the partnership with our communities. And it's tragically very prolific.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, and thank you for your.
Commissioner Powell.
Okay, I just want to make something clear for our residents. You stated that FLOC company is being utilized for services in your department. However, that was stuff that was in place prior to the countywide drone program
It has nothing to do with the
discussion.
drones.
Yes, okay. Say
Nothing
it
to do
again.
with the drones.
Nothing, okay, great.
Nothing to do with the
So
drones.
that residence was before, and then the drone program, we have not, as commissioners, made any final decisions on the countywide drone program. So a
Right.
company has not been solidified, correct?
100%. They're just piloting and haven't even completed getting the pilot spots in place.
Yep, all of it.
And here's a lot of misunderstood information on this. We have been doing DFR, drones as first responders, for years.
Yep.
Has nothing to do with FLOC or LPR, license plate readers. It's a call comes in, they believe they have the ability to make an impact on the call by increasing safety or catching someone or finding a lost child. They launch a drone that goes immediately to that call for service. And then once it concludes its mission on that location where we were called, the camera comes up to the horizon and flies home. It doesn't capture video of anybody's personal space, doesn't look into anybody's yards, it doesn't go on patrol. It's going to calls or specific instances where that asset can help give us real-time information, maybe finding a kid before we had a tragedy in Rochester Hills where a kid got out of the house, and this was prior to drones, and we fanned out with as many deputies and firefighters as we could, but unfortunately that kid had made it 3 or 4 homes over and got up into a pool and drowned. So if we can get an aerial platform up and get a much quicker view, we may be able to catch situations like that and have caught situations like that. In Pontiac, we actually, with a drone, caught a person running from a murder with the weapon. So it has been a game changer, but it has nothing to do with license plate readers. That company just also happens to have drones. And I've said this before, quite frankly, I'm not convinced that they would be our first choice in any event. What we needed to do, though, is our DFR program was an existing platform we can no longer get.
Right.
So it's kind of like if you can no longer buy the Crown Victoria car, what are your new choices? So we're looking at the Tahoes and we're looking at the Explorers in the drone world.
Yep.
We're just looking for a different drone to do the same program we've been doing for years. And on that program, we have a dashboard, a transparency page. Every time a DFR flight goes, you can see where it went, what the call was, what its route to and from, and it's right there on the page.
So thank you for just breaking all that down, and thank you because it's coming from you. You're the top of this department, and we needed that to be conveyed today, so thank you. I also want to let you know you have a wonderful team, and Under Sheriff Willis led that team in the community meeting in District 10, Pontiac, and conveyed a lot of what you were saying, and it was a great meeting. So thank you, and I am a supporter because I live there and I see what goes on. So at least this commissioner is behind it, but I just wanted to make that clear because we know this word, flock, is a trigger word in our community, and I just needed that to be clear for where we're at currently with all of that situation. Thank you. All right, that's all I need. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Long.
Well, okay, so since I wasn't gonna ask this, but since you're here, so this is, I just wanted to try to differentiate what we did and what they did. So in the communities, the local communities voted on their surveillance that are getting knocked down in Commerce. That's different than what we voted here was license plate readers that we've been doing for 4 years already, correct, or whatever, or no. When we voted at the Board of Commissioners, I wasn't there, but when they voted for the FLOC or whatever, because it's
The
FLOC right
pilot
now.
program.
Pilot program, that is for license plate readers.
No.
No, it isn't?
Has nothing to do
No.
with LPRs.
License plate, oh.
DFR, drones as first responders. FLOG just happens to be a company that also sells those.
So we don't do license plate readers here?
From
at-
the
at Oakland
drones?
County?
No. From the
Why is everyone
drones?
saying that? Okay, so that's why I'm confused. Okay, so.
So long the municipalities vote for the license plate readers. That's something that they have to.
So I got it backwards.
So
Yeah.
the LPRs are a fixed place camera, and they're typically paid for by a local community, in their community.
Okay,
DFR, drones as first responders, is a drone that we have utilized in a variety of emerging situations, the temple,
lost someone, when
a
someone's
murder,
lost
a lost child, whatever.
Okay,
Got nothing to do with the LPR technology. That we have never used it for that, nor are we seeking. to
okay,
use
so
it.
then that's my thing then. So the other one that most of the people, the public are coming here yelling about, that is more at the local level that they're disappointed with than what we're doing. It
Well,
seems to
they've been
me-
going to the local level
They-
too
they-
and yelling at them, and that ultimately is a decision for the local
That
communities.
was, right, at the local level was more their surveillance, because I mean, I see on Facebook, sorry, you probably see it too, that people are knocking them all down on Martin Parkway, and they're running them down, and then everyone's going, yay, they're running up these cameras down and stuff, but, so I guess my point would have been, and it's just a little, it's a little critical to the sheriff's department, it would have been really nice before our vote came up for this to be all a really better public forum, and got the people involved and told the difference, because I'm even confused even today. So it would have been nice for a PR before it came to a vote, to be out there better for Oakland County before that it got this out of control, to me.
But
And that's just I mean, maybe, I know you did press conferences
No,
after,
but just so you know, Long, our drone, the sheriffs have had a drone program.
I know, but I don't know if
It's been
people
stationed out
did.
of Pontiac. However, they've also used it for, like he said, other situations in, emergency state, right? So now he's looking, we got Pontiac. Pontiac actually fund their own, right? Right, they're funding that. But now he's looking to do the countywide, right? So when they came to us, it was just to start
Pilot
to look
program.
into a pilot. That was it, just to look into it. Not to say we signing the dotted line to say this is the program. No, we still got another step. And what he's saying is, from my understanding, we ain't even been able to kick off the pilot, correct? Right, because they can't come to a consistency right now, so that's at standstill. But eventually, we need to have that discussion, because the drone program is doing good things.
And then pick a vendor.
And then pick a
We haven't
vendor.
picked a vendor.
We ain't got there
And I
yet.
think-
So
and I
our
think,
community is confused too, as of where we're at, but it's because we got cronies turning the story, and I'm gonna leave it there, and that's why we got this
Well,
confusion.
that's what I said, so that's what I was just saying.
Well, from the
Even for
very
me,
beginning,
I'm
though,
hearing
we-
this, I hear this, I hear this from this person, I hear this from this person.
But there's also an agenda and motivation for some folks.
I know.
From the very beginning, this was drone replacement for our platform and to explore the possibility of sharing resources like we do with narcotics enforcement, like we do with SWAT, like we do with auto theft. So many of these different programs we share because it saves everybody a little and enhances the capability. And so the chiefs all came in and looked at drones and see it as the future on so many levels and said, why don't we look at something where we can participate together? Because having, one community pay for everything is a lot costlier than if we share, like we do with dispatch as an example. And so that's what this was to A, find us a new platform that we like for what we're currently doing just at the sheriff's office, and B, how would that roll out or play out if we did it cooperatively with other agencies to share resources and reduce expenses for everybody?
And I do think, like Angela said, it's the flock company that I think a lot of people don't like.
I think she's right.
I
The
think
name,
it's
the
a
name.
flock- Right.
For a long time, I thought, I'm like, is this the only person we can use? And then I found out, no, so.
Right, I think it's that
The
company,
word,
you
that
start looking
company.
up that company and people get all upset
Right.
about that company.
Yep.
But- Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
cleared up a little
doing
bit.
we're doing a pilot with Skydio. We've looked at a local company that also is building drones in Detroit. So we're looking for a platform that has the kind of capabilities in terms of flight capability, weather, turbulence, things like that, to get to an emergency and get back safely.
And did this come up, now, because now, I'm just trying to remember back, but nothing can be from out of the country isn't there something that federally came out that we can't have
China's
anything from
banned.
out of the country, so we had to make sure all the drones are USA products, right? So that
Correct.
came from federal government.
Correct.
So that brought up all this too. So there's only so many companies, everything has to be United States company now. And
Yeah,
I
about
want that on
90
record too. That's a lot of it was
Yeah.
federal, right? Because we don't want anything from different countries doing our drones and having our data. So didn't that come up and kind of change the
It was
scope of our
huge. It was
bids?
a massive change. Between
Okay.
85 and 95% of the drones in use in the country came from China. You
That's
can
what
no longer bring them in.
Okay. And I think people don't know that aspect of it either. Okay.
We've been trying to tell them.
I know, but it's just nice to get it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Okay. Is that everybody? Okay, I have, turn my mic back on.
She's got a
I have a few
She
things.
has a budget.
First of all, I am really happy that you found your training facility
Yes,
and
yes,
storage
yes.
facility. I really am, truthfully. When I heard that we found this space and everybody was happy, I was like, wow. Because since I've been here, every year it comes up and we didn't have a solution, and I'm really thrilled that we do. And it's a good one. It's well located, it's not an old building, it's enough space. I'm just thrilled. Somebody listened, I guess, and dropped that in your lap, and I'm really happy about it.
You listened, and we appreciate it. And
Yeah.
we appreciate it.
Yeah, and it was at a good price too, which is, it all came together, and I'm really happy about that. Human trafficking and your successes. I really feel like we need to publicize better what we're doing, so that the people out there know that we have changed how we deal with human traffickers in Oakland County and surrounding. Here's what we do, and by the way, it works. Here's the data. I don't think that story's being told, well enough.
Well, every time we have an arrest where we have charges and people have been arraigned, we publish it and we post it. I think the problem is that there's information overload between social media and 87 channels. A lot of people don't see it or tune in.
Yeah, but what I'm
we
saying is
certainly-
back it up a minute and say, we're doing things different. Here's what we're doing differently. And then, you know, the results are almost, yeah, we have really great results. The details of that are not important. But the fact that you really changed the way we went about human trafficking, and I don't know much about it at all, but we're going after basically the men, not the victims.
Correct.
And we turned the...
Yeah, well, we've been doing that for some time, but now we have more resources.
Right.
To go after the traffickers and to go after the pattern of
I'd like
behavior.
to see a page and a half in the Sunday paper that says this is what we're doing.
We have tried, but, you know, we don't get to decide what gets,
I know,
what
but-
gets posted or played or consumed by, you know, where people get their news has totally changed too.
It's good stuff though, and I don't think the public gets it. I think they still think we're, you know, sitting in parking lots, and we are, but it's with a different lens. And you've educated us about how that is, but for the public to understand that, I think that story is a good story that needs to be told.
And Madam Chair, if I may, I am on the Human Trafficking Prevention Committee, and that is, we're planning a summit just for those reasons. We are working very closely with the Sheriff's Department and the Prosecutor's Office, and we are trying to come up not only with telling our story, but to give them a way to how they can help us recognize victims and how to help them. So we want to do more than just give information. We want to actually show them and let, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
how does this impact me? Because so many people are in denial and they'll say it's not going on here, but we want to show them that it's everyday people that you see. You may or may not know that this person is a victim unless you recognize certain things. And one of the things, and you're going to hear from me all the time, is that when I know better, I do better. We had that training from the prosecutor's office in 2024, and since then, it's not only changed the way the public looks at victims, but also the whole community. We have officers that look at people differently and they treat people differently. They let everybody know that they are a human being first. Yes, you are a victim, but I understand and I'm coming to you differently. Nurses, doctors, social work, everything, because when you take something away from someone, you have to replace it. And if you take away their lifeline or what, you know, where they're getting their food, their clothes and everything, we've got to replace that. So we are working very hard, and the Sheriff's Department and the Prosecutor's Department are doing an outstanding job. And yes, they should tell that story, and we're going to do a better job of that. We're working with Misha and our communications team. You will see more information coming out on their successes, their arrest records, their conviction records, and how we are telling the criminals, not in Oakland County. You will see more of that.
Well, there's certainly been success, and I'm glad that there's more and more. And I just want that story to be told, because I'm just Joe Schmo sitting out here in the public. I'm not on that committee, and, you
Yeah.
know, and I would like to see us let folks know. Two more real quick things. A dashboard. I know you have a dashboard for some of what you do, and I think there's a dashboard for human trafficking. Is there, like, the investments that you've made recently and the changes that you've made, the measuring that you do of that, how do you evaluate, is it working, and is it cost effective and all of that? So what is out there that you're reporting?
We have a pretty extensive dashboard that not only, as I talked about with DFR, shows that flights, traffic stops, arrests, all of those things are on there. One of the biggest challenges in the public space for law enforcement is how to quantify what you prevent.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get to that number if this new effort reduces, or is the new effort now catching things you wouldn't have seen before. So, you know, that's one of those things too. Like when we
If the
first,
number's bigger, is that a good thing?
like when we first assumed operations in Pontiac, I told folks in advance, you're going to see the numbers go up because there were a lot of unanswered calls before we got there. And now we're answering all the calls, so that's going to be reflected in the numbers. Well, now, we just crossed August 1st, the 15-year anniversary. Violent crime is down over 40% across the board in the city of Pontiac. And they've gone from one of the top 10 most violent cities in America to not even the top 100. So we can quantify over time based on outside metrics, but sometimes those numbers look different. When you put new resources into an effort, you may uncover crimes you weren't seeing before initially, and then you can begin to compress the actual number of crimes that are going on out there.
I think the important thing is you're paying attention to the numbers and understanding and interpreting them.
Yeah, we have data people, we have intelligence people in the sheriff's office, and we look for trends, we look at numbers, and we try to analyze where we need to be and what we need to be doing.
My last point is that you have, you have 2 pages of denied/pending budget requests, which is more than the other groups that came in today. And I'm just wondering if you've prioritized these. Are there ones that you really want us to go to bat for this year, or are there, can't live without? It's just kind of a big list.
Well,
so.
I mean, it is a big list, but, we know you have competing demands, and so we do the best we can to live with what we're allocated, and we appreciate what we get. We're not like, Oliver going, please, may I have some more? Obviously there's other things that, we could use, and if we get it, great, and if we don't, we'll do with what we have,
Well, the
best
couple
we
that
can.
I'm looking at are the ones with the time limits, the 10-year replacements on the rifle-rated vests and the 5-year replacements on the helmets and face shields. I mean, are those?
Well, see, like for example, the top one, the FOIA, that was actually recommended by Corp Counsel.
Okay.
Because we have legal requirements to have answered within a certain period.
Right.
And we're inundated with FOIAs these days. Everybody wants to FOIA everything. And so that's based on staff, how quick you can meet those demands, and you have time demands required under the law. So Corp Counsel recommended those additional positions because we weren't keeping up. So
And
the human trafficking vehicle I
we
mentioned
talked about,
already.
yeah. Okay.
So, and some of this equipmental thing, I think some of that's out with purchasing, and we're in the process of trying to work through some of the stuff with purchasing.
Yeah, so we ended on, because obviously it's a 5 and 10 year, we have our normal vest replacements that we have built into the regular budget. These are long-term ones that only get to happen every 10 years. So at some point I will figure out where,
Okay.
what shell I can move if it's not included in there.
Okay, good. We trust you.
We trust her.
Yeah, I know. All right, and that was all that I had. I think this has been a really healthy, good discussion. Any of the other commissioners have anything else they want to ask or add? Or if not, I think we're done with the Sheriff's Department for today. Thanks so much for coming in and all the really hard work and all that. So, yep, you too. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Good to see you too.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
It's long good to see you. See you.
Yeah.
All right. No, I have not closed it out yet, but we are done with the 4 groups for today. And I want to remind everybody we'll be back here at 1 o'clock tomorrow. And we will be providing, again, snacks for tomorrow. But on Thursday, when we have Finance Committee and EDI before this, we will be providing lunch. We will have a catered lunch, so. What? Yes, and now the last thing we have, I got to go back to my agenda, I think.
Wait a minute until they're done
Yeah.
talking. Maybe we can.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Wait for a minute.
All right. All right, next on our agenda is our last item, and that is public comment. So is there anybody who wants to come before us from the public?
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Margaret Gupta. I'm with Oakland Township. I take a lot of notes. The first thing I want to cover to make sure, because this is what I always do, I have 5 Zoom hearing records that have been corrupted by Judge Lisa Langton that's never been investigated. It's never had an audit. It's never had any documents, records, or anything by the circuit court. It is against the law to corrupt court records using the Zoom hearing. There's 5 of them that have been gone uninvestigated. I want to say kudos to Commissioner Lenny Taylor and Angela Powell for questioning the audit. The audit that was done by Riemann and Associates, the fiscal and the CFO failed to earmark the major issues with that audit. Riemann did a great job, but we have underestimated the assets at the airport by 21 million, radio communications by 8.3 million, drainage by 34 million. Those are underestimated. But the most important part is when Mr. Kultura came up and gave his State of the Union or whatever address for fiscal year, saying we're having a structural budget. You guys have material deficiencies. You can't build a structural budget and material deficiencies. The only public servant that I heard today, Mr. Robert Galt from Animal Shelter, documenting core processes, procedures, policies, and best practices, responsible stewardship of public funds, documentation. There are no written policies and procedures for internal management control. SEFA had 10 revisions. It's not that they're starting a month early, it's because the auditor said, you guys were not prepared. There is no written documents. They actually suggested you guys need to put things in writing. How do you guys operate a business without documented procedures and policies? You have an auditor telling you guys have to have written procedures. They're not even sure if you guys follow GAS, which is the general accounting standards. They were unclear if you guys were following Michigan law. It's important. It is, Mr. Leffler. This is significant pillars. Standard operating procedures. So if there is somebody that is sitting there at a desk and say, oh, I don't know if this is an error or if this is actual fraud. There's no policies to document, make record of it. There's no documentation for even reconciling liabilities. You guys, this is Oakland County. This is $1.3 billion. Not one person brought up the Rochester Hills Splash Park, where the sheriffs were granted last year $330,000 plus to do something down in Rochester Hills. They forfeited it. They forfeited it back at the end of April or June or May. And now nothing was done for Rochester. Why? Because they said, hey, we kind of forgot about it. December, oh wait, we just don't have time to train somebody. But yet we're talking about training facilities, flock cameras, everything. They had the biggest year of hiring last year of 180 people. There's something wrong here when people are not being held accountable. They need to be held accountable. There needs to be written policies, guys. I used to be in engineering. We had to follow a procedure, and you guys aren't.
Thank you, Ms. Gupta. That's 3 minutes. Mike set the timer for
I
you.
didn't see the timer set. And then the other thing is you guys took the 1 minute off that clock before the thing, and I'm not sure why is that 1 minute different than what the standard computers are. It's really weird. You guys reset it at the beginning of the meeting. I have no idea.
Thank you, Ms. Gupta. Is there anybody else who wants to address us in public comment? Okay, seeing no one, is there any other business to come before the Finance Committee today? Seeing none, I will call this meeting adjourned at 4:55.